the administration.
Yeah. Yeah. No, by the time we get to elections, I think he'll be having his last. No? Because the elections are in August. So June will be having, So it's his second last.
It won't be complete if he doesn't win the election.
Yes. So that means if he wins the election, if he doesn't win the election, that means the next president will operate for 1 year with President Ruto's final budget.
Exactly.
So it's just one final budget for him. It's 1 year to elections.
Yes, let's say it's 1 year to elections. It's now 54 weeks to the next general election, essentially. So we don't know, but essentially that's what it would be. If it is in fact that he, this would be, the second to last one, and then somebody else would come and serve if that was the case. So if he does win, it would be now of this term, or would be of his second term if he did win. Anyway,
let's also remember, he also has room for, what do we call the adjustments of a budget?
Supplementary budget.
Yeah, so he also has room to play around with supplementary.
That can actually happen.
Yeah.
Very good morning to you. It is the 1st of July. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. And everything is down from here after getting to the peak of the week. And now we can see Friday from far. But that's what we do. And I hope everybody's doing well. Yes, the weather is cold. Rather, the temperatures are dropping significantly. Well, we're told that it's going to be a very cold July coming in, that June ushered in a cold July. And so here we are this morning, and I hope everybody's doing well. Sasa, mimi ndio sioni, ama is our live stream up? It is. She has given me the thumbs up. You have such cute thumbs. I didn't notice that before. Hi, Evie. Evie is here. Good morning. And then only Joy B would be carrying around a bottle of dishwashing liquid in her pocket. I'm telling you guys, the things that you see here at the Standard Group in the morning before the cocks have crowed, it's crazy.
Just gotta love it.
Pambazuka, is it a noun or a verb?
Pambazuka.
Can you say I am?
Nimepambazuka.
Oh.
No.
Can you?
Pambazuka, kumepambazuka.
What? It's.
Lakini wapi ukitaka kusema nimepambazuka ni sawa.
I can say whatever I want.
Nimepambazuka vizuri. Kumepambazuka.
Yeah. Hapo ndio tuko leo asubuhi.
Umepambazuka? Umepambazuka?
Sawa. Yeah. If you say so. My Kiswahili teacher, one Njeri Suleiman, will be very proud.
Yes.
Yeah, because saizi Kiswahili inatiririka. Kabisa.
Napenda.
Yep. Nimechukua fursa hii. Ata wadhfa. Wadhfa na nyadhfa. Okay. Sawa. Good morning, everybody. Yes, indeed, our live streams are up, I can say categorically, on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. This is the Situation Room this Wednesday morning, and things are looking up. Top of the morning to you. As you get into the room with us, Karibuni Sana. Our audience on KTN is here this morning, and we're very glad to have you. Marian is awake. On Monday, I cannot say the same. I could not have said the same, but today she's up and at 'em. And Mutanu, have you noticed? You know me, I noticed the details. This week, she's been wearing nude natural colors the whole week. It's the thing. Utatuambia. Yes.
What's the force behind that?
Don't know. Ndio sababu atatuambia.
Nudity is a thing, eh?
You know. Okay.
Yeah.
I was stuck for a moment there. Okay. Good morning again. What did I want to tell you?
Tell us who will be talking to this morning.
Okay, yes, let me tell you who will be talking to this morning. Good morning, everybody except Raymond Omolo. Not happy with you today in the morning. Everybody, good morning except you. Because what?
Lichoma.
Hapana bwana. Don't even give it attention.
We are investigating. We will give you.
Ama ungefanya nini?
Shut up.
Period. Yeah.
We're investigating. We will give you further statements momentarily. Once investigations are complete.
Hapana, ungefanya nini? Because I'm not happy.
Aseto alikuwa abducted, alikuwa anajificha kwa nyumba. Yet nililimwa proper. I can't even talk. So mimi nilijipiga tu.
Yeah.
It's the same statement they gave when Albert Ojong died.
It's the same thing they said about Robert many years ago. Robert Okoh shot himself.
Doused himself
and then doused himself in fuel and then burnt himself.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Do you know, there's something called a brain-to-mouth filter. In the event that it is dysfunctional, cease to speak completely.
Can I tell you what is lacking in that entire conversation? Chloride dioxide battery. It is not powering things up.
Didn't put your batteries into the filter this morning.
No, changing the terminals.
You didn't put the things correctly in the morning when you were having coffee. Then you just be realizing through the day that you should not say anything. Because you know that you've not charged your
battery.
Thanks.
That's
how it should actually work. I do agree that there's some people who have just bad behavior. But in this case, the indicators all point to the fact that, you don't want to take responsibility for the fact that there are some rogue individuals who are doing unseen, inhumane things to other Kenyans.
And I think what we're saying is, in the police service, we have amazing individuals who are doing amazing stuff. But among them, there are some, what can we label them?
Miscreants.
That one.
It just sounds like, miscreants.
Miscreants, those ones. Those are the ones, Mr. Molo, you need to deal with.
Hey, Bwana,
those are the ones that need to go.
You can't give a blanket condemnation. You know, there are pictures of human beings being manhandled and carted into vehicles by police officers. And then now you want to tell us that those people miraculously found their way to their house. And you know what? I choose peace. Peace like a river. It is well.
It is well.
Yes, it has to
with
be.
My soul.
Well, let me tell you what we'll be talking about today as we get into it. Sawa.
Kabisa.
At 7 o'clock, we will have a conversation about debt and digital shift. Okay. What is going on? The glitch, how far? Is it okay now?
The 7-day glitch. Okay. As at yesterday, there was still a glitch.
Bros, a 7-day glitch is not a glitch.
Yeah. No, okay, that breakdown that they call a glitch.
Okay, let's give CS Aiden Dwale the benefit of doubt, okay, and that there's a little mouse in the system and they're trying to send a cat in to catch the rat. Let's just say that for now. Dr. Bill Morioki is the chairman, KMPDU Nairobi and NEC member. Beatrice Cairo is a health economist and public policy expert. They both join us to look at, is healthcare paying the price? Because if it's not, perhaps you need to figure it out. Now they're changing the system. They're going digital. What does this mean against the original SHA system? Now it's the digital health DA system.
This
DA do. Okay, something.
Money DIMS. Digital Information Management System.
DEMIS.
That one.
HEMIS.
It's just when it has a miss. That's why it's missing things, missing the point.
Something. Or something. Can you see how we are confused?
104 billion down the drain.
It's not down the drain in Jesus' name. Because what? Let's have a conversation about that with these two individuals at 7 o'clock. Because where? At 8 o'clock, we're going to be talking about abductions. Activist Wafula Buke is going to join us at 8, a walk down memory lane, so that you can actually tell us, those of you who want to abduct and disappear yourselves, how do you go about it? So that maybe we can actually tell the PS, Ministry of Interior, that Kunavile, if somebody has abducted themselves, you can tell.
And someone had disappeared themselves and tortured themselves,
Anyway, so we'll have that conversation with Wanabuke at 8 o'clock. So that's what it looks like at 8. And then we're going to finish off the conversation with investing in democracy and human rights. Jackson Obare is a Forum Civ regional manager, and Marie Ottoson is the head of development operation at the Embassy of Sweden in Nairobi. Both these individuals will join us for that conversation at 9. So that's what it looks like on this Wednesday. Get into the room. Let's engage. Let's have the conversation, because this is the Situation Room with Dennis Tolateto, Nduh Okoh. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's get into it.
Yes.
As we do, we are in Lesotho.
So it said a single Lesotho is called
Masutu. Lesotho.
Okay. What they mean?
Basotho.
We said it is one country in the continent that is highest in terms of how they look at others because of where they're placed.
Yes.
Over 1,000 meters above sea level, right? Rich in gold. But remember, there are also rich in water. They supply that. They actually export water to South Africa. Yeah, a lot is happening in South Africa. Yeah,
a lot. June 30th was the day where they said all illegal immigrants need to get out of South Africa. But then you also see that across Africa, there's been a call to boycott all South African products. Whether it's the phone, food, their supermarkets, their music, whatever the case may be. It's boiling and it doesn't look pretty at all.
It doesn't look pretty because that now looks to 53 against 1.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
What does that do to an economy that was built at the backbone of other African countries? Anyway, let's go to the proverb. The proverb today says, Utapenda, even a small meal reaches the mouth. Even a small meal reaches the mouth.
It's something. It's something that we can be grateful for, even the little morsels. That it's something as opposed to nothing. That it'll get to your mouth, and if it's your mouth that's the first place of digestion, that it'll do something for you. So I guess we can be grateful in the small things and in the big. I see it as from a point of gratitude that we can actually enjoy. Yes.
A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Every single step gets you closer to that 1,000 miles. So never despise your small beginnings.
Very true.
It could be small today, but it is the building blocks upon which you will achieve that which is destined for you. So keep on hustling. My high school teacher, Mr. Ruri, would say, my high school principal, Mr. Ruri Goodman, would say, Japan. You know what Japan means?
It's a country over there in Asia.
According to Mr. Ruri, Japan means that pole when you're, say, in a bus. It is a little effort that you need to put for you to be comfortable, especially when you're standing in a bus. But ultimately, you'll end up at the destination. So,
Sasa unafika Japan na matatu ama? Okay, so
Mr. Ruri explained, but he told us to Japan.
So you just Japan.
You'll end up there.
So, okay, you'll get there. Yeah. Okay, let's say hello to everybody this morning. As we get into it, Karibu Sana, thank you for joining us. And I just realized that, quite a number of people do every morning. And even as we get into these conversations, a place for us to 100% engage from across the world, right here into the country, and even in your little spaces. Let's engage and talk about some of these things. A very good morning to you, says Peter Carey, tuning from Mombasa. Stop being ashamed of how many times you've fallen and start being proud of how many times you've gotten up. That if you're here today, you've actually lived the worst of your yesterdays. You've gotten through the worst of it. And you're still here. So there's something to then give thanks about.
True.
Shaq Bet says, top of the morning, SpiceFM. Good morning to you, Karibu Sana. Good to have you in the room this morning. Very good morning to you, Esther Wamboi. Good morning and Karibu Sana. Thank you for joining us today. You're listening in from Komarok. Karibu. Beatrice Omanwa says, good morning, tuning from Dallas in Texas. Wairimo, who is in the Bay in San Francisco, we're looking for you. Where are you? It's been a minute. You've been listening silently. If you have been and you're here, do say hello to us this morning. Robert Mboko says, good morning, tuned in from Mombasa. Linda Gola says, bonjour. Happy July, folks, and happy July to you too. May it be a good one this month. Jimmy Munudi says, good morning, Spice family. Happy new month to you too as well. Thank you, Jimmy, for being here in the morning. Clement Ochola is tuned in from Malindi Kwachocha. How are you? We're fine. Mtungi wa gas itashushwa hadi 300 ama 500 ama penye niko bei ndio haijashuka.
Ni kwangu haijashuka.
Hata kwangu, in case of anything imeongezeka. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Anybody who's still thinking, because I can say this, anybody who's still thinking right now that to buy a cylinder of gas is going to be 500 shillings in this administration, it's not. I think we should just get off the soapbox. It's not going to happen.
Let me add something on that. And if it happens, it's more reason why the government needs to go home. Because it's a promise that ought to have been kept when they got to office, not on the 4th or 5th year, because there is an election. So if that happens, then remember, you needed that 4 years ago.
It's
simple.
It's done, man. This is Emenda. Wow. Hello. In case you're wondering, Aseto is awake. Yeah. Come on. Anybody who's waiting, it's just like there was also, you know what?
Yeah.
There was also a fund that was supposed to be created for commercial sex workers.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
A revolving fund, yeah?
Yeah.
Did they ever get it?
Guess it's as good as mine.
Licensed?
That's another thing that's not...
Are they legal in the country to start with?
Well, come on, if the government was going to give them a fund... You think that...
But then the government would be participating in an illegality because, remember, commercial sex in the country is illegal. So
Yeah.
That is one that would say you are lied to from the word go. Because the government cannot participate in anything illegal, one would say.
Kusikia jana ukiambiwa we can do first aid.
Bandage.
Bandage. That it's illegal, but we can still do it. What does that tell you? That it's done every single day.
Thank you.
Kimiak, happy new month, good people. To you too, Kimiak, how are you doing? Thanking God for life over the past half year. Kabisa. Now the month might be changed, but the scripture hasn't. And it says nothing good will come out of the Kenya Kwanzaa administration.
Bless you.
I want to meet Kimiak.
I want to meet Kimiak, Isakale, Jennifer, and Wanda.
In one place. How's that? Breakfast at Tiffany's.
But I would love to meet everybody.
I want to meet everybody. I think we could have
Let's
a great...
go
It would be
Barasa
nice.
Yeah.
Barasa with audience. That would be fun.
Yep.
I can see Evie already pulling her hair out. Drift Session says, good morning. Happy new month. Good morning, good night. Happy new month. Happy H2. 2026. Leo says, hello, Princess Nduh and Aseto. Good morning. Splendid new month. 7 is divinity. Indeed, it is. Same old script repeating itself after every protest, kidnapping, torture. And who's funding the protests? I know. It's still the same thing. D Combo says, habari zenu mandugu na madada. Good morning to you. Desmond Otis says, happy new month. Msisahau ile kitu CS Mbadi alisoma kwa mbunge the other day is effective from today. Yes. It is. Tibbs Muge says, good morning. Central banks around the globe are reducing their fiat bonds, I beg your pardon, and increasing the gold reserves. When there's a bank run, do not be the last ones holding the bag. Good morning, guys, says Eric Ward. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. And Mahanu Oliver says, good morning, Spice family. This World Cup is thrilling. Isn't it just? Wait for that day Kenya will ever participate in one. Hope I will be alive by then. You should. In fact, I've decided EVE and Joyline, we will go watch a match just from beginning to end. One day, only one. We don't move. One match. From, when they're going to start the match, they blow the whistle.
Yep.
When they finish, also they blow the whistle. From whistle start to finish. Sit through halftime. There's halftime, by the way.
Yeah.
Then now we finish and go home. Sindo. It's gonna do it.
It could also end up in penalties depending on where
it could be in
are.
We could go to 120 minutes. We could go to 150 kind of thing. But yeah, we'll do it before this World Cup is over.
I think there's a way where we hope our Harambee Stars get to qualify one of these fine days. We always wish them the very best. But another alternative would be Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. Bid, host it.
Host the World Cup.
Yeah, direct entry.
Malizeni na hii inakuja next year. This one for
so now we have
Talanta.
Now we have
AFCON. We are hosting AFCON next year.
Yeah.
Just do that one first. If you do, then we'll see.
We don't have travel restrictions, visa is ETA.
Former Sepp Blatter.
Yes.
So that I've said former.
Yeah.
You can see how we can get through. He's the guy. That's why he had those charges against him. He's the guy who used to do those first aid that Mwangangi was talking about.
Kapsa.
If it's necessary. Okay. A very good morning to you, Bwangi Juma. Tuned in. How are you all this morning? This far is God, and it shall be blessed this July. Amen. David Thyro says, David, you want to get me in trouble? Somali pirate Allah says, good morning. My county 019 is locked. Iyo nigani hiyo? The person who can tell me which one is county 019, I'll tell you what I'll do for you after you tell me.
Where you got the O as a lot, me and him.
Christina A says, good morning.
Moved on swiftly.
Very fast. Do we know our rights? This is what Christine is asking this morning. Maybe judiciary or us just don't understand Article 1.2 directly or indirectly. We went to Parliament to wield power directly. Bring Nganga Muigai and Adrian Oloch. Oh, okay. Mashara and Njeri says, good morning, tuned in. Nduh and Dennis, happy new month. Cabinet meeting to discuss ghost workers in the ministry. Can you imagine? Me reckon. They know who they're... Okay. By the virtue of definition of ghost, it means the thing does not exist.
Yeah.
So, and in order for the thing to be put there that does not exist, there's a real existent person who is benefiting. That person is known. Hello.
I have a question.
Axe.
The ghosts don't exist. Their accounts do exist. The money is withdrawn after it's been credited, right? So one asks the question.
The ghost keeper
is alive. Is alive.
Yes.
Can we get the ghost keeper?
That's what I'm saying. We're just pretending here, telling us, we have ghost workers, we have ghost schools, we have ghost... Shut up. You know who they are.
You said it today.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize. Sheesh. You see now this thing that... what? Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. Collins Juma says, good morning, Team Spice. 97 billion to curb corruption. Disaster is waiting. I don't even want to talk about that. Paul Olaka says, good morning. Good morning from Oman, says Sue Wanga. Caroline Nyambura is tuning in this morning. And happy new month. Luke 14:14 says, she says, the Lord says you will be blessed. May the Lord fulfill this word over your lives in this new month. Kiweni sana.
Yes.
Kabisa. Amen. And thank you for that. That prayer definitely is one that we say a big amen to. All right. Getting into it with the rest of you this morning, Yambura. Good morning. Hello from Baltimore in Maryland. Very good morning to you. Osada Emily says, good morning. We thank God for the new month. Miezi inayoyoma.
Yeah.
Where? Yonigani says
they're getting fewer.
Getting closer to the D-Day in 2027, indeed. It's Kenny says, good morning, Team Spice, tuning from Kiambu. As a doctor, I can tell you, Nduh, SHA is the greatest scam, only second to affordable housing. Allah? Dr. Kenny? Nyaji? Drift Call says, good morning, tune in from Mumias. I like your boldness, guys. Even after sustained state attacks, you do give us a reason to listen to radio and TV. Thank you so much.
You.
Clive says, good morning, Spice. If the president reads the Standard newspaper, then P.S. Raymond should too. Should he just not? Kennedy Anyonya says, good morning. Greetings from to Moses, Doctor. You're greeting your people? Okay. They've greeted you back. Richard Odera says, good morning, Team Spice. Good morning to you. Tuned in from Mikindani in Mombasa. Isa Kale says, Nduh, just jump my comment. It's not there, I promise you. Isa, it's not there, wallahi. Ibado, we shall listen by force. Aseto, you should meet and vet Nduh.
Vet.
Vet for what?
Yeah, vet.
Isa, wallahi, your comment is not there. I promise. I would never. Wagwan Spice, revolutionary journalist, Ubuntu na Pamoja, Kimathi Nkrumah McConnell, a very good morning to you. And Mercy Wantera is tuned in. 019 is Njeri. It's Njeri?
Yes, Njeri.
Okay, fantastic. I said I'll do something. I'll tell you in a minute. Good morning, blessed crew. Nduh, I think that you have a talent for languages. At this rate, you're learning to speak Kiswahili. I know you'll be completely fluent in no time. Hongera. Asante sana. I actually do have a penchant for languages. Able to pick them up here and there. Thank you so much. I'll do an entire 30 minutes in Kiswahili someday. Good evening. Good morning. My people, says Gekota, Princess Nduh and Dennis Aseto and EVE. The Kenyan think the public is their enemy and the executive thinks the same way. Watching from Miami in Florida. Happy new month, Gekota. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody. If I missed your comment, I'm very sorry. Isa, wallahi, please take my apology. I didn't mean to do that. It was not intentional. But wallahi, it's not there. Maybe you need to put it again. Amma?
There's a comment that has been given by the 200. 104 billion shillings used for SHA is equivalent to half the price of the most expensive hospital in the world. We are being carried babies.
We are being carried bébé. C'est un bébé en français. Being carried un bébé, and not the nice one for Lingala.
Nope.
Crazy.
Ni hapo kwa sasa.
Acha tuangalie huko if it's going to be colder today and whether Dennis is going to have a hard time
on sky and on ground, what the situation is like.
Absolutely. Then we'll come back and look into the headlines. Good morning. Karibuni sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Indeed, a bit of a colder morning in Nairobi. It's at 15 now. We will see a high later of 23. It'll drop down a little bit to a low of 13. Mostly cloudy at 15 in Nakuru and 15 and cloudy in Njeri County 019. It's 20 and mostly clear in Kisumu, and at 17 it's clear into Kakamega. 22 and cloudy conditions in Mombasa, while at 24 it is mostly sunny in Malindi. It's 19 and sunny into Marsabit, and it's a clear day in Kampala at 21 and mostly clear at 21 in Dar es Salaam as well. 10 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, while at 26 it is mostly clear in Lagos. Mostly cloudy at 16 in London, while at 27 it is partly sunny in Beijing. Clear skies Tuesday night in New York at 27. Coming into Monday, we'll see a high of 31 and a low of 24.
Chilled Spice.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Traffic update brought to you by Chloride Oxide.
Yeah, it's already looking like it's going to be a busy morning. There is traffic coming in on the Thika Superhighway, and it's inching its way through towards the Pangani underpass. Just a little bit of that as you get to the Globe Cinema roundabout, but not too crazy for now. What else are we looking at? Into the CBD? Not so much at the moment. It's busy on Jugo Road, heading out then towards Landis and then on towards Wakulima. That is busy there. And if you look a little bit northwards, there's some traffic on the North Airport Road, heading then towards Embakasi. There's inbound traffic here as well. Let's keep an eye on all of this. Outer Ring was an absolute mess yesterday. Obviously because of certain reasons. Let's keep an eye on things this morning. SpiceFM, EonX hashtag, the Situation Room.
Traffic update was brought to you by Chloride Oxide. Wherever the road takes you these days, stay powered by Chloride Oxide. Get total peace of mind on the highway with the premium Oxide battery range backed by a rock-solid 18-month manufacturer's warranty. Chloride Oxide, inside from Chloride Oxide.
Turn up the heat with endless entertainment on Star Times. Feel every moment of the action as the biggest leagues reach their thrilling finales. Recharge your monthly subscription to unlock a world of endless drama to enjoy Novella E, now available on your Nyota bouquet. Dive into blockbuster movies with the launch of TNT, your new home of big screen hits. And for the little ones, a world of non-stop fun on Cartoon Network, now on Star Times. News, sports, drama, movies, kids, and reality all in one place. All for you. To renew your subscription, dial star 858# for self-service or get in touch with our call center on 0719 077 077 for customer care. Buy a Star Times decoder at any of our deal shops countrywide. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so coming in to look into the headlines this morning, it's 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. On the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, habeas corpus. Corpus in Latin, of course, meaning body.
Yeah.
Habeas means without. Lack of.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? No body, no life. Why the state must produce missing men. The High Court has ordered Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to account for one of the two men who vanished, dead or alive, as a protest demanding their release descended into bloodshed, with police fatally shooting a bystander. As pressure mounts over the disappearances, abductees are resurfacing with chilling, similar accounts of being blindfolded, handcuffed, starved and tortured in secret safe houses, prompting the question, who is behind it all? Meanwhile, the government insists that those claiming they were kidnapped were merely in hiding. You needed a bit of a vacay, so you decided to disappear, and then on the way back, you've told people, well, actually, you know what, I was abducted. That's what the government says. There's a picture there of the inset, Maxwell Kiarie and Abdulaziz Zizu Molu, two gentlemen missing. The court says, court basically is using legal language to say, stop this nonsense and bring these people for the court to pronounce itself on something like that, they have been able to get evidence and they have interpreted the law and they've said, you know what, there's a game afoot here and we're not going to stand for it. Dead or alive, present this person because they were last seen in your custody. Bring them. You know what has happened to them. So we're not asking you to come and tell us, oh, what happened on Tuesday at 4:17. We've already gone past that. So guess what? You, Douglas Kanja, bring them, dead or alive. This nonsense must stop.
Nduh. You know, even when the government says that these individuals were hiding, I repeat, the government is speaking from a position of knowledge.
You would think.
That means if you know that these individuals are hiding, clearly you know where they might be hiding. Your job is to take them out and present them to court. Do that. Second of all, we are living in a country. You remember there is an individual who committed murder in the United States. He came to Kenya. He went into hiding. How long did it take for the government of Kenya to investigate and find that man, take him to court and ship him back to America? The very same government today is telling us it cannot produce individuals in court who are in hiding, and they know they are hiding.
You know that they're hiding, so you must know where they're hiding. So then you bring them to court then.
Exactly.
Because if 1 + 1 = 2, then guess what? 3 + 3 = 6.
6.
You know for a fact that these individuals are in hiding. You also know everything, right? So you bring them from their hiding then, and the court has told you then we need them. Because you've told us that the people who have said that they are missing or abducted were actually in hiding. You know this. Now court, because police is under the ministry where Raymond Molo was speaking for.
Yes.
And you have said that these individuals are in hiding. Court has said hire. But you bring them then.
And even the court is telling you, Habia Sangoa.
Corpus.
Bas.
Let's just move to the next page because what? Now, people who suffered with mathematics, that 1 hour, 20 minutes class, 40 minutes class, 60 minutes class when Walimu wa Math used to do the thing. A guy has taught math for 45 hours. A teacher who refused to stop inside a 45-hour math marathon. Mathematics teacher puts in 45 hours teaching to break a world record. Fenwick Maloba says it was just a dream and his passion. Now he waits ratification. Is he the first person in the world to teach math continuously? For 45 hours. Nakuru math teacher. He has officially completed a grueling teaching marathon that began at 8 a.m. on Friday, putting him in a position to claim bragging rights in the Guinness World Records once the attempt is ratified. That'll be fun to see what the boys and girls at Guinness do.
True.
Great migration begins as the wildebeest reach the Mara. This is the time of the year when they're starting to move. You know what? It's interesting because I had a conversation with somebody and they said, it's just a day. Actually, the Great Migration takes place over months. Yeah. It's not a day event. It's just like even the crossing of the Red Sea in biblical times. People think, Pharaoh's people were coming and then one day Moses just did like this, and then the water opened, and then they crossed and closed. No, it took a long time. Yeah. So this is it's the 7th wonder of the world, 8th wonder of the world. The wildebeest migration is starting. It's quite a thing to behold. Every year, over 1 million wildebeest, accompanied by hundreds of zebra, gazelle, migrate between Tanzania's Serengeti National Park and Kenya's Masai Mara National Reserve in search of fresh pasture and water. And it's also a time that we see that a lot of young are born. Yes. The migration, driven by seasonal rains, is regarded as one of the world's greatest wildlife spectacles. Its most dramatic moments occur when the animals cross the crocodile-infested Mara River, where many fall prey to predators or are swept away by strong currents. Beyond the river crossing, the migration attracts lions, leopards, cheetah, and hyena, creating exceptional wildlife viewing opportunities and making July to October the peak tourism season in the Masai Mara. It's great stuff to see.
The only other thing that is sad that wildebeest migration has attracted is hotels that block the path.
The corridor, absolutely. The migratory corridor for the animals, which is so many things that are just, it's weird. Yeah. This is the greatest thing. People from around the world are coming to you, put a hotel right there, bam. You
can have the great view of the concrete. It's fine.
So Outer Ring has been a mess the last couple since Friday, and then there was a bit of a lull, and then yesterday they came back and said absolutely not, one of our own was killed. Police have been ordered to produce the missing man as protester has been shot dead in the city. Let me just move. Ex-DP to Ruto, ex-DP meaning the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, and he said, blame yourself, not the media, is what he said. He made a statement yesterday, and he was saying, he actually mentioned a couple of journalists, and he said, if anything should happen to any of these guys, it is you to blame. We already know that they may or may not be followed. He has said that concerns over the infringement of media freedom is actually giving him sleepless nights, and he doesn't want that to occur anymore. Where? It seems that there's a crack in Linda Mwananchi, from what we're being told. Cracks in Linda Mwananchi over opposition alliance ahead of 2027. Some leaders fear alliance would betray promise of generational political change. Analysts warn prolonged infighting could weaken the movement's appeal among young voters. It could. That's not even a lie. So if you don't get your ducks in a row, there's going to be a problem. End of an era. Final KCSE registration opens. The Kenya National Examinations Council has issued what could be the final opportunity for thousands of Kenyans who've never sat the KCSE examination. Now, this is not for the ones who are in school, because we know that the current Form 3s will be the ones who will sit KCSE for the last time in 2027. But anybody who's never sat the exam for whatever reason, you didn't finish Form 4, whatever, KNEC says, come, register.
This is the last time.
Because next year will be the final KCSE. So you have an opportunity to do that, and you might want to do that now. Hello? Do that now. You might want to actually do that now. Hi, Njeri and Marion.
Graffiti.
Just come into the house. We have to say hi to you. Okay. So even as we're turning the page, if that can just happen with my fingers, looking into the story of the next page.
Page 8.
Yes. What to expect from new tax rules and tax measures is on page 8. And there is your CS expert FCPA John Badi. Teachers and civil servants laugh all the way to the bank as July pay rises take effect. That was to happen in the new financial year, and we're into that. Kenya's ward of diseases and destruction as El Nino closes in. It's closing in. And why the High Court ordered Ruto to reshuffle cabinet. High Court has so now Kenya has been left in a spot where the court says you have 120 days. This gender balance in your cabinet, first of all, doesn't exist.
Yes.
You have 120 days to rewrite that issue. You must have 2/3 gender balance in your cabinet. And if that's not happening, we're giving you 2 months. Ngapi? 2 to sort out your things. Yes, that is what they have said. Sawa. And on the opinion pages this morning, Faith Wekesa talks about repression in Uganda and the dying Pan-Africanism dream. If Pan-Africanism as a dream dies, tukona shida. Coming together as Africa is probably one of the things that we can do that is a panacea to world domination of the African continent. Germany is out of the World Cup.
They are.
Yes, they are. Germany was beaten by unsuspecting Paraguay. And this is crazy because now Paraguay is in the round of 16. It was unexpected. DR Congo now dream of an England upset today. This would be the match to watch, EVE, between England and DR Congo. If that were to happen, in fact, they can just declare that the World Cup is over. Those are the stories that we're looking at. Get yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper today, or the Standard e-paper, www.standardmedia.co.ke.
Yes, let's go to the Daily Nation. Now, rogue officials to pay for abuses. That's what the court said. Now, a court of appeal judgment that rogue public officers must personally settle compensation awarded to aggrieved persons and not have taxpayers shoulder the burden tightens the accountability for those in authority as more cases against state excesses are filed. You see the compensation conversation that we are hearing now that the government gave out 2 billion shillings. Now that 2 billion shillings, according to this court order, right, should be paid by individuals who've been investigated and found culpable to have flouted the law, to be the ones paying the bill, not the taxpayers. Because the taxpayers were not involved in flouting
in your nonsense
extrajudicial killing, not taxpayers. That's the way to go. What that means is any officer who will be going, or any official who's giving these orders, will be really careful, because they know in case compensation is needed, it comes from your pocket. Now, you're talking about abductions. State Rights Watchdog condemns enforced disappearances. That is, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights asks security agencies to reveal the whereabouts of 3 missing persons. Now, global bodies urge Museveni to end NMG outlets shut down. The World Association of News Publishers, WANEFRA, and the World Editors Forum have asked President Yoweri Museveni to lift military siege on NMG Uganda's radio, TV, and print outlets. Why is there seemingly the need to just curtail the media? Because they are pretty much, the media just reports what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
But the thing is that if I also know that the thing that I'm doing is not right, why would I want anybody to come and say?
Yes,
so in order for you not to say the things about what I'm doing that are not right, see, then I keep you shut up.
So are they also going to close the social media because still they're being posted there? Anyway, NTSA shelves private car inspection to next year after public outreach. The National Transport Safety Authority has suspended the mandatory annual inspection of private vehicles, citing shortage of certified centers. My question is very simple. By the time you're coming with this decision, this new regulation, did you look at your capacity to do it?
No.
So what exactly were you doing? If you know you don't have capacity, don't you build your capacity first, involve Wananchi, so that by the time you're rolling it out, you have the capacity and Wananchi also understand why you're doing what you're doing?
Absolutely, if you didn't live on Jupiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you clearly live on Jupiter because you lived on Earth where things are supposed to be done normally.
At least Jupiter
then at
can
least
even
those,
be seen.
Yeah, you see.
These ones are in Pluto.
Which, in fact, you're right. It's Pluto, because Pluto is no longer even a planet.
It's not even a planet.
Yeah, so for God's sake.
The only Pluto that remains is the name of a dog. But anyway, global...
Okay.
Global body urges Museveni to end NMG outlets. That has been expounded further in page 2 and page 3. Lamu's journey from a terror hotspot to a model of community-driven peace. So security operations and community campaign against radicalization transformed into a model of peace building. Al-Shabaab attacks once dominated headlines from Lamu, but peace efforts are bearing fruit. If there is one thing that we are to learn from Lamu, is that when you are focused to doing it and you work together with Wananchi, they will help you achieve that which you want.
Yep.
Because remember, if you want intelligence, they're the ones to give it. They will tell you what exactly is happening within their communities. Mukon example, striking blow against impunity, trouble for rogue public servants. That has been expounded on page 4 of The Nation. And parents reject plan to increase school fees. So the government is funding education. However, if it is unable to fully finance education, parents should not be made to bear the burden of fee increases. That is according to NPA chairperson Silas Obuhatsa. Yes.
I have if I want to play devil's advocate,
please.
Just Kidogo, please. Who should pay? If schools are complaining that they don't have enough to go round, who should pay? Remember that this is public education.
Yes.
What does that mean? That it is funded by?
Government.
Right. So it should actually, you can actually fund this education if you decide to do it right.
Yes.
So in the event if you ask me, asking the parents to pay is easy work. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to think about getting the job done right. You don't have to say, where do I apply this? You don't have to say, even hire actuaries to find out how much it does cost to send a child from ECE onto tertiary. You don't have, you see, by just telling parents, pay the extra 43,000 or 27,000 per year, what you've done is that you have given the government a free pass.
Yes.
Because constitutionally, the children of this country have a right to education. The vanguard of that right is government. The vanguard of that right is government. So if you are not fulfilling that which your constitution, which you all sat down and ratified by way of referendum, said that let's go ahead with this, then you now come back and tell them, okay, you who gave birth to these children, give us more money to do our job. I've put it simply.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is. We are unable to do our job. Now, rather than for us to leave office, we are going to stay here and insist that you
shift blame, shift responsibility.
That's exactly what you're doing.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because one asks the question, how did Kibaki do it? Especially using a constitution. You know, in the current constitution, it's clearly well spelled out.
They'll tell you that there are more children now, that
it is fine.
Things are more expensive.
Kenyans equally pay more taxes today than during Kibaki's time. The government of Kenya has more taxes today than during Kibaki's time. So when you talk about allocation, because remember, education as well gets the biggest chunk of allocation, but still,
we can't see it.
We can't see it. Schools today operate in what? Pending bills, because we've chosen not to pay. We've chosen not to do our jobs. Bwana, kama huwezi go home. NTSA shelves the private vehicle inspection. That is on page 8, has been expounded there. And on page 10, IEBC, there's a question, how we plan to deal with goons during elections. Now, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission has told a parliamentary committee that people who are not official agents of candidates will not be allowed within 400 meters of tallying centers during elections. It has always been the case.
That they'll do what?
They want to deal with goons. That people who are not registered agents will not be allowed within 400 meters of tallying centers. It has always been the case.
So what's the new thing you're doing? What's the new thing that you're doing now to ensure that doesn't happen?
You keep telling us, piga kura wende home.
Na nyinyi mko hapo.
Yeah.
No.
So my next question then is, how is IEBC dealing with goons? That's not their job. The people who should deal with goons is the police. But then again, what conversations is IEBC police having with the political class with whom goons are attached to?
Do you remember that after the by-elections that took place in Malava and Mbere North, IEBC sat here and told us what? It is now a police case. In fact, we are following closely with the police to find out who were the perpetrators of the violence at the polling station.
Yep.
That was last year in October. Till tomorrow, until the cock has crowed how many times?
Yeah.
What is the report on that? I beg, they shouldn't come and disturb us with some random drama here.
Yeah.
They don't intend to. They should just forget about it. You'd rather even tell us that this is a number of people that we have registered for voting until. Don't come and tell us things that you know very well that you're not going to do. Stop gaslighting Kenyans. It's enough, I beg.
What to tell us is, during the by-elections that we see, there are goons attached to specific politicians. Counsel those politicians from running for office. Then we will be sure that you are fulfilling your mandate. Yours is not to arrest goons. Yours is not to control goons. Yours is to deal with the political class who are involved in the election process.
Guess what of mine you're having today? My dose of what?
Mena.
It's yours.
Thank you.
Because what the hell?
Yes. Then, Kenyans fleeing South Africa begin arriving. Now, the number is 148 of migrants who have been killed in attacks since 2022, according to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. So, first batch of 26 escaping xenophobic attacks has returned home. They are already in the country, and 63 others are on their way. Others are also seeking refuge at the Kenyan embassy in South Africa.
It's a thing, guys. If in case you didn't, it's a serious thing that people are being asked to leave South Africa. But the question is, will you then be able to operate in isolation? Will you be able to, as a country of South Africa, be able to operate in isolation? It looks like it's as a move that we know that there's a wave of nationalism across Europe, especially in Western Europe, and then going towards the Americas. We know that this is happening. Is South Africa ready to embrace this nationalism that you speak out? Because the nationalism that you're looking for at this moment will obviously be peppered with some isolation.
True.
Because of the way in which you're handling it.
It is already.
Yes. So I don't know if this is the move that you want to make. It doesn't look very safe to me.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about the geopolitical space within which you're entering into now. Ramaphosa, I don't know, but your other guy, Malema, told them that they should be careful. Don't know what's happening, but doesn't look too good right now from where we're sitting.
You know, South Africa has been seen most of the time as being one of the countries that speaks most about issues to do with Africa.
Yeah.
It's just taken that away by kicking out the people they have been speaking on behalf of. How do they move from this? How do they reclaim their position? How do they talk of Pan-Africanism on the global stage.
I don't know how they're going to come from this one.
Ngumu
sana. It's one to watch for sure. Let's see what happens, because Kenyans are leaving, and we see a whole bunch of Ghanaians who love Zimbabweans had started to go. Nigerians
are out.
I'm already out as well. So South Africa maybe in a very short while be left with just South Africans. And then what? Let's wait and see what that would look like. Also, this story of the IEBC promising to stamp out political goons. Don't promise things that you're not able to do. And then there's a photo up here with Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka visiting Luchima in hospital. And I called it a photo op for a reason. You can figure that out. 3 million youth are hooked on Mira as heroin and cocaine spread. 3 million. 3 million, guys. 3 million. It's 2 million short of a tenth of the population hooked on drugs.
Just say half the population of Nairobi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good at all. As well as divorce and sibling feuds emerge as the biggest threat to family firms in Kenya. There's dis-ease, guys. There's dis-ease. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Timbur. The IEBC has urged politicians to stop financing gangs involved in political violence ahead of next year's general election. Appearing before the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee, IEBC commissioners said the commission will strictly enforce the Electoral Code of Conduct to curb election-related violence. Here is IEBC Commissioner Dr. Atulala Mukwana.
Na haya makundi yote matajiri wao ni ninyi viongozi wetu. Sasa tukitaka kusimamisha mtu tuenda kwenye chimbuko ama tuende chini yake, lazima tuende kwenye chimbuko wa mtu, na chimbuko ni nyinyi viongozi. Mkiacha kulipia majambazi wa kisiasa, hili tatizo tutalimaliza. Lakini ninyi kwa heshima kubwa muongea kwa upande mbili za midomo, mwatukanane wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Ninyi ni viongozi wetu, tunaogopa kuwakabili, lakini tumeamua kwamba tutakabili kulingana na sheria.
Meanwhile, the Commission says it is facing a major funding shortfall following budget cuts. Acting CEO Ledama Sunkoli told the committee that the IEBC requires 74 billion shillings to prepare for the 2027 general election.
How much was IEBC allocated in terms of preparedness as we head to 2027?
27 ni bilioni 24, 27, 28 ni bilioni 20. Hizo ndio tumeallocatiwa. Lakini ile ambayo tumeomba ni bilioni 70 na ngapi? Na 4. Kwa hivyo tuna balance ama tuna pesa ambazo zimesalia kiasi ya bilioni 30.
In other news, the government has denied allegations linking it to the reported abduction of activists and other Kenyans. Speaking to journalist Interior PS Raymond Omolo said the government does not condone enforced disappearances and remain committed to upholding constitutional rights. He maintained that there have been no state-sponsored abductions under President William Ruto's administration, adding that such cases were more prevalent under the previous government.
Hiyo mambo ya utekaji nyara ni mambo ilipitwa na wakati. Actually katika ile serikali iliyopita ndio tulikuwa na hiyo changamoto ya watu walikuwa wanatekwa nyara ama wanakuwa abducted. Wengine walikuwa wanapatikana kwa mito na sehemu zingine tofauti. Tangu tuchukue ushukani, na Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto has been very clear katika uongozi wake hakutakuwa na mambo kama hayo.
Owala said those arrested during protest are processed through the courts in accordance with the law. He also claimed that some reported abduction cases involves individuals who later reappear after allegedly going into hiding, and urged families of missing persons to report such cases to the authorities for investigation.
Tumekuwa kwa hii taifa mara nyingi. Hivi majuzi tumekuwa na demonstrations zenye zimekuwa peaceful. Wananchi wenye walikuwa wanataka kudemonstrate walikuwa na nafasi, wenye walikuwa wako na shughuli zingine waliendelea na shughuli zao, na watu wenye walishikwa ama walikamatwa na polisi walipelekwa mahakamani. Sio tu hivi majuzi, juma iliyopita, na hata nyakati zingine ambao tumekuwa na demonstrations. Na pia tumekuwa na watu wanasema wamekuwa abducted ama wametekwa nyara. Mwishowe unapata ni watu walikuwa wanataka kupatia ama kutupa lawama kama serikali.
His remarks come amid growing concern over alleged enforced disappearances, with human rights organizations continuing to call for independent investigations and accusing security agencies of involvement. And Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru says it is getting hard to campaign for President William Ruto given the widespread allegations of state-sponsored abductions. She wants IPOA to investigate and prosecute police officers involved in abductions, enforced disappearance and other police excesses.
Tumeona kwa magazeti, na mimi nimeshasema hii mara mingi sana, maneno ya abductions, na president mwenyewe aliongea akasema hii nchi hiyo maneno ifanye nini, iishe. Mimi nataka kuongea kwa hao ambao wanahusika na kuangalia sekta ya security. IPOA, tafadhalini do your job, kwa sababu mnafanya kazi yetu iwe ngumu sana. Kutetea serikali kama hiyo ndio itakuwa kila siku ni news.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tembor.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They are being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we may find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do.
Like now you abandon, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutomjengo, Mama Mboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning. It is 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, and we continue our conversations as we're getting into things. And before we understand exactly what's going on with the Shah, power things up for us, please.
Now let me tell you, right? It is very cold in Nairobi. When you leave your house, your windscreen is there, it's foggy, you can't just see, right? But guess what? When you get inside that vehicle, which is a computer on wheels, and you have heated seats, massage seats, heated wheels, your AC is working. When it's hot, assuming you are at the coast and you want to enjoy what your sunroof has to offer, all those things are powered. When you want to leave here and you want to go where that Tarakaniti bridge is working, you just need to key in your navigation board and you will get there. All these require power. And the kind of power we're talking about is not the political power.
It's not that power.
We're talking about chloride oxide, especially the matrix oxide battery. That is here to assure you that once you buy it, you have 18 months warranty. We can stand by what it is we are offering you, because we have not only powered your vehicle, but we've powered the country. We have moved president since what? 1963. So go get yourself a battery. Later, I'll be telling you what the 60 plus years of chloride oxide has done.
Fantastic. And we'll wait for those just so we can get it in. It's no question that you'd then be able to power up with chloride this morning. Okay, so yesterday we were met with the news that the systems yet again were changing even before you were able to understand what exactly is going on. And so this is a little bit foggy in my mind in terms of what exactly is happening. And so we said, okay, we must have a conversation today so we can understand. Does that mean 104 billion shillings went down the drain with the moving of this system or are we just saying we are moving from analog to digital? Is that what we're doing? Okay, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the health system that is Shah, that was Shah, that will forever be Shah. I don't know. Anyway, debt and digital shift. Is healthcare paying the price? Dr. Bill Morioki is here with us this morning and joins us in his capacity as the chairman KMPDU Nairobi and an NEC member. Very good morning to you, Dr.
Good morning, Nduh. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, hi.
Karibu. Thank you for being here this morning. Health economist and public policy expert Beatrice Cairo is also in the room with us this morning. Good morning, Beatrice.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Let's try to open this up so that we have an understanding of what's going on. Before that, Dennis is going to share today's proverb. I can see Dr. already smiling. He'll tell you where it's from, and we'd love to hear your interpretation.
I have a question. People of Kenya are called?
Kenyans.
Uganda?
Lesotho.
Basutu.
Well said. Well said. The one thing that stands out as well from the Lesotho is the fact that it's one country in the world that is highest in terms of its elevation. It's 1,000 meters above sea level. If you want to enjoy snow, don't leave the continent, just go to Lesotho. They enjoy that because of their elevation. They have snow. They also have the Basoto blanket because it's cold. They have this blanket, not like our Masai Shuka, but now their version of Masai Shuka to be able to deal with the cold that is in the country. But the proverb we get from them says, even a small meal reaches the mouth. Even a small meal reaches the mouth. How would you interpret it? Ladies, go first.
What it means is that you should not despise something small. So it's like in our Kiswahili version, haba na haba hujaza kibaba, kidogo kidogo. So I would assume, I would interpret it as that small thing that we keep doing, eventually will amount to much. So a little will accumulate to something huge that we'll find it very difficult to actually solve.
Nice. Yeah. Doctor, how would you interpret it?
I think a bit similar. It might not be enough, but still, even it still gets to where it needs to get to. Yeah.
Well said. Well interpreted, Sana.
It will need to get where it needs to go, that's for sure. All right, so let's look into Shah this morning. There are a number of things, obviously, that Kenya does need a working health system. That goes without saying. It's a no-brainer. And that Kenya needs, and because it is kind of like a sacco where everybody puts a little bit into it and then allows you to then treat people. you pool the resources. That's one of the only ways that it can work. We've seen it work in different parts of the world, so it's clearly understood that if you're going to then be able to offer healthcare from a public perspective, that everybody's got to put a little bit into the basket, and also from the understanding that not everybody's going to be sick at the same time. So that's the model upon which this is formed. Now, in October 2 years ago, I believe the CS at that time then rolled out, because it was a different CS than what we currently have, rolled out the SHA system. And there was a lot of hullabaloo about what it was. 104 billion shillings was setting up this system. And it was supposed to be foolproof and ready to go and let's move. And everybody was told to register and do your business. Go down, fast forward a couple of years, and for the last 7 days, I think now on 8 days, 9 days, there's been a glitch in the SHA system where your one-time password for you to then activate the process for you to get treatment in hospitals is not working. We were also told yesterday now that they were shifting from that system to another one. And this is now where confusion sets in because we're not quite sure what happens. Does that mean that you've abandoned the old system? Does it mean that now you've gone from analog to digital, where understanding that it was a digital system anyway? Dr. Morioki, help us out to understand what's going on right now. And we look into now the debt and other issues.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the issue of SHA has had lots of teething problems. In fact, if it was a child that was trying to teeth for this long, you'd be a worried parent. But what now we are facing essentially is probably like a slight change of direction.
Okay.
Because before, what used to happen is if you're a hospital Nduh, and you see a patient and you have claims to put into to claim from SHA, there was a SHA portal. This is part of that expensive system. And you'd have to upload all the documents and put all those things there. And then now from there, SHA will follow up with your payments. Now, what SHA wants to migrate facilities to is a HMIS system, which is a hospital management system.
That was it, HMIS.
HMIS, yeah.
We knew it was a miss. We weren't quite sure which one.
Which we kind of miss.
Miss it was.
So lose a miss. Now this is just the H one. Okay. Yeah, so, and the idea of a HMIS, which is a health management information system, it's more than just a portal for putting in claims. It manages the entire hospital. So you can imagine as a hospital, beyond just claims, there's a system that manages the patients, who's where, what they've consumed, what they've ordered, what the doctor has ordered. So most hospitals have essentially a system. Others are manual still, but then most have digital. So now what SHA is essentially telling hospitals, you have to migrate to our system. So that then now when you see a patient in your facility, wherever it might be in Kenya, you see them using our system. So that then now eventually you don't need to do another whole claim process.
Okay.
But then if you've seen them through our system, we also have visibility into what you're doing. Yeah, which of course raises more questions.
But that's not a good thing, Dr. Ari. I mean, surely that would help in like paying of claims and things like this, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's the thinking behind it, that SHA is saying instead of even doing double work where you see a patient using your system and then you have people in the claims department to now do the claims, just run the patient through our system, order the drugs through our system, the procedures, the treatment. We can see everything. Therefore, there's no redundancy. So on paper, it's good. But then, what I'll ask you maybe is, if you've run a hospital for 20 years, you probably have your own system. You probably have your own records. Number two, what happens to the ones that you finished claiming through the former portal? The ministry right now is saying, don't worry, as much as we're not using that, those claims will still be verified and everything. Number three, it also brings up issues of privacy.
Data privacy.
Because at the end of the day, one thing you can do is have a system for putting claims. But if you're running your entire hospital using a system that has a back-end access by the people at SHA, maybe my ex works at SHA and needs to know what is happening with me, can just check my records from there. So once you force hospitals to onboard onto a system that they themselves have not procured, they themselves do not know who else has access to, you open up another can of worms now, unfortunately.
I mean, as a health economist, I want to look at this a bit different. SHA is 104 billion shillings deep, you know. That's how much so far the country has spent. And for a system to be having these glitches and teething problems, as Dr. would call it, one asks the question, was implementation of SHA or SHIF, whichever way you want to look at it, flawed from the word go? could it have been avoided if only due diligence went into the process of implementation, public participation of not only Wananchi, but also the hospitals who already have their systems, so that if there are any changes that needed, all these things we're talking about today would have been handled back then before the launch and implementation of the system. From an economist point of view.
Yeah. So it's by design. How SHA was designed is where the problem began. Remember how it was designed at first? It was supposed to be mandatory for every Kenyan citizen to contribute towards SHA. But remember, everyone has a right. You cannot make it mandatory. You have the right of choice. That's the privilege you get because of the Constitution. Number two, they expected the informal sector will come on board to actually contribute towards that SHA. But when you look at what is happening is that only around 890,000 informal sector are contributing towards SHA. Actually, NHIF by the time was transitioning now to SHA, 7.1 million Kenyans were contributing toward NHIF. Currently, as we speak, only 5 million Kenyans are contributing to SHA. So SHA is still lagging behind. Why? Because when you look at how they introduced the 2.75 contributions, remember it is supposed to be an annual income to the ones who are in informal sector. Then, when you look at the informal sector, how many people have a stable income? Very few people. So the moment the people who have no stable income and you want them to pay contributions, it is not possible. So there is no sustainability. So you realize most of the Kenyans who are in the informal sector contributing towards SHA are those ones having a condition that should be treated. No one is sitting, in their sitting room and say, let me contribute in advance. Then those ones who are contributing consistently are those ones in the formal sector. But remember how it was structured is that every employer is going to contribute to the SHIF fund. But we know the burden of NHIF, that the 30 billion we say that NHIF was not able to pay providers. Remember, the greatest culprit was the government itself not remitting employer contributions to NHIF. So now in SHIF, there are also employers not contributing money to the same fund. Now, also how it has been structured, there is a portion of the SHA that is funded through the exchequer. So when it began, when SHA began, remember there was very minimal funds being allocated to it. Only that in the current budget for this year, somehow funds have increased, but not yet enough. So when you look at all those factors, then definitely it means the cash flow in of SHA and the healthcare cost growth are not much. There's a mismatch already. So that mismatch will already tell you there is a problem and it is not sustainable, because we have to look at the financial sustainability of that system. So the government, when they designed SHA, they did not first resolve how are we going to ensure consistent contribution by every Kenyan citizen. They should have first resolved that. Now, let me even poke a hole further. So when you have a country where this unemployment rate is so high, who is going to contribute to that fund? So our economic system, the government has not solved our economic system. We have not solved our political economy. There is no way you're going to force a Kenyan who has no income to contribute anything. So then they introduce the worst of it all. They tell you, if you don't have an income, we are going to give you a loan. So fine, you'll take a loan because you're sick and you need the loan. But how will you ever repay that loan once you're well and you do not have an income? You see, already it is not making sense from the word go. And some of us, what we advocated for, why can't we tailor-make a healthcare financing system that suits our economy?
So the question is, if it is clear, even with NHIF that had 7.1 million people in the system contributing,
yes,
this is not just registered, contributing, who are giving something every month.
Yes.
Even with that, it was at a minimum. It was at the minimal that you needed to actually run a robust health system.
Yes.
So what would be so difficult Because it is clear that people on their own, Dr. can tell us, the people who come to seek medical attention, it's at the place whereby you realize, oh snap, I'm going to need a major life intervention here, a medical intervention here to save my life. So you run around and you do the harambe, you do whatever, you get the money to come and do the procedure. But insurance is still in people's minds, because that's what this is. It's insurance. You pay now for possibility of a sickness in the future. So if it has proved so difficult over the last 30 years to actually get people into this habitual insurance payment, why not do it like you have the road maintenance levy fund, whereby you're not asking people, have you paid your road maintenance levy fund this year? No. It is removed when you buy fuel. And everything is moved by fuel. So you have seen that this thing is so important. Why not tailor it so that regardless of what happens, you will be able to treat the nation, because they're going to pay the tax for it anyway?
That was advocated for, but for us who are health economists, we recommended that. The government ignored us. Parliament ignored us. Because based on how our economic system is, we are an agricultural economy. So we depend on the rains. Remember, we don't even have dams that can do irrigation throughout the year.
They are coming.
Yeah, wametenga, watakuja. You get. So whenever we say that we use sin tax, so if it's the sugar you're buying, a certain percentage of the tax on that sugar goes to healthcare. If it's the cigarette, because we have to look at those lifestyle or behavioral, or we call them behavior, that contribute to an increase in disease burden. So you tax them more. So that what happens is that people will not, engage in that bad behavior. For example, if you introduce high taxes on sugary foods, sodas and all that, very few people will consume it. So diabetics or lifestyle diseases due to high sugar levels will definitely go down. But in case you still consume those sugary foods, we set aside some amount of money or part of that tax charged on sugar to be set for healthcare to cover the cost.
But does it?
No.
Does the money that is actually coming from sin tax actually go to health?
No. That's the problem. So there's no dedicated percentage that goes to healthcare.
I mean, Dr. As we talk about the system right now, and clearly we've seen the loopholes that already exist with the HMIS. For me, the fundamental question is, already SHA as a SHIF as a fund has had problems before. With this new system, and that is being implemented, or rather has been put forth, has it been tested for us to look at would-be challenges and how they would be resolved? Or is it a question of, let's just bring in the new kid on the block and say we are fixing it? Because we could be fixing it but worsening it. Because one would say, if we already had used SHIF for 4 years now, right? Already people knew how to go about it, how to go around it, how to deal with the issues around it. All it needed is to just deal with it. Not teething, those are what? Even if it's not teeth, those were molars. Like the molar problems, right? Like the grown teeth now needed to be dealt with for us to say the problems that were there have been removed. Now the system is working. With this DHMIS, has it been tried? You as doctors who are interacting with it, the hospitals that are dealing with it, have they tried it to look at pros and cons? Or is it just the new shiny kid with locks is now in?
And I like the fact that you bring up that as a potential issue. That, fine, first of all, the diagnosis of the problem you want to solve is really not the fundamental problem here. Because the new system, fine, if you bring everybody into managing all their patients with your system, it reduces things like redundancy, it reduces things like maybe a bit of verification becomes easier, because catching fraudulent claims becomes a bit easier because you have a lot of visibility. But that's what you've chosen. You've actually decided to choose that's what you'll solve about SHIF. But then, as you point out, number one, you're also centralizing the possibility of failure. Because what you're basically telling a hospital, before you could run your system, but even if the SHA portal is down, you can still struggle with making claims, but you're still seeing patients. But now if everybody goes onto this new system and runs the hospital with this system, what happens with the day that it goes down? So now you even have nationalized and centralized a potential point of failure. This system, secondly, who has been consulted about it? Like, do all hospitals run the same way? There's so much that goes into these things that you really feel are really a bit underthought. The goodwill, I always assume good faith with policy making people, but then there's just a bit of due diligence that you just need to do, because fine, the system might be good, but then as you bring out, if it fails, it means that day essentially no hospital in Kenya can function. It can't even dispense drugs, it can't even do stock taking, because the thing that was supposed to solve the verification of claims is now down for everyone. So such a thing is just a big risk. In fact, if you're doing risk management, that would be my first risk issue.
The matter of debts that's then owed to hospitals is an issue, but then you're kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place, because then what do you do? The truth of the matter is that you may have a lot of people who are registered in the system, but you don't have enough people paying, and that's from my understanding, we don't expect that government is going to look for another option to get money to sort out this health system. Not at the moment. And so the 27 billion that's still unpaid to hospitals, county, and what looks like is possibly going to be yet another debt coming up, How do you reconcile that there's not enough money coming through? And actually, at this point, I find myself saying, so what do we expect SHA to do? Because it is an insurance system. That is how it is designed to work. So the debt is huge, but the burden to provide the healthcare is even larger. So what do you do with the huge debt, not enough people paying? It looks like it's going to be cyclical, and it will continue to be that way. Is it?
Yeah, until the government deliberate decides to put more funding to SHA.
But they don't have it.
So when they budget, they're putting more funds to State House. Recently, we saw they set aside 45 billion to pay referral hospitals because they also drain. Remember, they're also part of the culprit of those not being paid by SHA. So either way, to get these people out of this debt system, the government has to make a tough decision. It cuts down on others' expenditure and focuses to clear this debt. Then going forth, resolve and say, if along down the line for so many years, contribution towards SHA has been very little progression, then it is not working. Remember, the system in its essence should actually have been designed in a way that it can actually accommodate each and every Kenyan citizen indirectly. Remember, you have asked how comes insurance in our Kenyan context has never been accepted. Remember, only 25% of Kenyan citizens are insured, both publicly and privately. So, because every Kenyan citizen assumes insurance is a luxury. So even when I'm paying SHA, it's a luxury.
Until you get sick.
Until you get sick. So ours kind of behavioral or cultural. Remember, when you introduce a system, you must study the culture and the behavior of that community. So we are not like white people, whereby we're able to set aside funds ahead, we anticipate we can get sick. Remember our belief system as Africans. If I start believing I'm going to be sick in the future, it's a taboo. I'll bring it on myself. You get? So whenever you're telling people to plan to be sick, it is against the system. So definitely it will be an uphill task to ensure that these people come on board. So government has to shift and say, going forth, let's have a fully tax-funded public healthcare insurance system on the go. And we also need to separate between public facilities and private facilities. So that now, when you have a public-funded health insurance, then let it be used to uplift the public facilities. The moment you bring everyone on board, remember, private facilities, their aim is to make a profit. Unlike public facilities. Remember, the public facility, the land is owned by the people. The doctors working there are paid by the taxpayer. The building were built by the taxpayer. So the only return in investment is healthcare to the citizen. But for someone who is in a private hospital, every single service that they're offering, they have to make an extra coin out of it. So when you introduce a public funded insurance system to also cater for the private sector, then the funds will not be enough.
I mean, Doc, I want to ask a simple question when it comes to healthcare in the country, and even SHA as is, right? Have we politicized healthcare in the country so much that you're not having tough conversations? Why do I say that? We know that healthcare is not free. Somebody must pay for it, right? And in a system that the government has seen, it's an insurance where it's a portal where everybody needs to get in. At the end of the day, would-be registered members must chip in something in that portal for them to benefit. Because remember, if I don't get sick in 10 years, it's a good thing. But we've not told Mwananchi that the money that you're contributing is helping another Kenyan in Mombasa access these services. We are not having honest conversations about what SHA or SHIF is, what it wants to achieve, and how your contribution is changing the game. Because whilst you're being told 2.75% for those who are employed, those who are in the informal sector need to pay. But then again, you see, the political class will tell you, wewe ukienda, wewe enda utibiwe, uende nyumbani, mtu akikwambia ulipe, nipigie. But that is not in the policy document that has set up SHA. We are not having honest conversations because, case in point, I am Manuel. I can't go to a private insurance and say, unitibu kitumia that policy of that guy, because they'll tell you, you're not our member, you've not paid, you can't access services. Are we just playing politics with SHA that we're not dealing with the fundamental issues that do exist?
And I think at the heart of what is problematic here is what you're pointing out, that we are trying to politicize something that is very straightforward maths. It's what you can't fake around numbers. So the political class is looking for a very simple narrative that, since Nduh came into power, nowadays we go to hospital and we get treated for free.
Yeah.
Which is possible. But then now you have to come back and have an honest conversation with yourself and say, okay, how will we make it free?
Yes.
Now, what is currently happening is you're squeezing the middle. Number one, as much as someone went to hospital and got treated and went home, if you don't pay that hospital, the Mwananchi and the hospital owner has two very different experiences about SHA. One feels SHA works, the other one feels like SHA doesn't work. Now, the other people in the middle is the healthcare providers. Because let me give you an example. If you got, unfortunately, into an accident and you broke your femur bone, your thigh bone, the package SHA offers is around 140,000. If you look at other insurance packages, for just the same procedure for fixing it with a nail is around 300,000. So what you're basically even telling that hospital is you figure yourself out with much less money for something that even other insurance providers tell you, okay, that will require a bit of imaging, a bit of this, a bit of drugs, a bit of... You can't do it with that kind of money. And in fact, even SHA nowadays becomes even a bit more absurd because, say, for example, the accident was so bad you broke both your femur bones. It won't accept the claim for both. It will just say, this is one person. You can't make, this is a double claim. So they actually reject that claim. So what happens on the ground is you treat one,
you leave the other.
And then now, after some time, you treat the other. So you see, what you're trying to do, playing around with the psychology of someone getting free treatment somewhere, is you're trying to squeeze it out of the middle. Like the people in the middle are the people getting the hurt the most. The owners of the hospitals, the healthcare providers. Because remember, as a doctor, if I do that procedure on the broken thigh, and you claim it from SHA, I won't get paid until SHA pays the hospital. So if SHA doesn't pay the hospital, you're also not paying the doctor. And then now you start running into things of staff have not been paid, suppliers have not been paid. So who essentially here then is providing the free healthcare? It's not the government, it's the healthcare system. And that's why to the topic of the day, the person paying the price is the healthcare system. And the problem with the healthcare system, it's not incentivized to continue paying your price for the government. There's nothing in it for them as well.
Okay. Sorry, Nduh. That today, if the problems that do exist within SHA and the debt that exists today, if that is not sorted out, even with the new system, the problems still exist, meaning we've not really dealt with the root cause of the problem.
Exactly. In fact, what we're trying to do by changing systems is almost like saying, I don't have enough money to pay everyone in this room, but stop using M-Pesa now. Please go open Airtel Money. Let's start trying to see whether now with Airtel Money, it's fine. Maybe M-Pesa was a bit slow. There are issues around M-Pesa as well, and this has nothing to do with M-Pesa and Airtel. But fundamentally, that's not the issue here. So you'll get everybody to move to Airtel Money, but then if the money was never enough in the first place, you still run back to the same problem.
Indeed. Okay, so let's take a break. I'd like to take a break and then imagine. Sometimes it's difficult for us we can talk about how bad it is, but perhaps we can push for something if we imagine what it should actually look like. So let's talk about that when we come back from this break, and then see, okay, this is what a health system that was functioning properly would then be, and maybe it would give incentive to the folks who have the responsibility to make it happen, actually make it happen. We'll come back after the short break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
Traffic update brought to you by Chloride Oxide.
All right, we are in traffic hour this morning, and it looks pretty busy. Depending on where you are, there's traffic coming off of Thika Superhighway, and that's coming in from that Royal interchange. We have some of that right around Clayworks, getting towards Kasarani. You'll be fine. And then thereafter at Pangani at the underpass, it slows down a little bit as you get out towards the Globe Cinema roundabout. Depending on where you're going, it shouldn't be too bad. But then there's traffic that comes off of James Gishuru, all the way from off of Ngong Road, taking King Aaron Road, and then getting onto James Gishuru through towards the Red Hill Link Road. Very busy this morning. It'll find its way through towards Lemuru Road on the other side. And then in the middle of all of this, Ring Road, Westlands, or Jiji Road, all of that is having its go at traffic this morning. And Ngong Road is busy. Still traffic right around the Ngong Road coming in from Naivasha Road towards King Ara. So that is still pretty busy. And on Mombasa Road today, past Next Gen, we're likely to see that traffic then seep backwards. There's traffic through towards Uhuru Highway and then out towards Haile Selassie. So it's busy. We're in traffic hour. Let's try to keep things moving, but we'll talk just in case things do get a bit sticky. SpiceFM KEONX hashtag the Situation Room.
Traffic update was brought to you by Chloride Oxide. Wherever the road takes you these days, stay powered by Chloride Oxide. Get total peace of mind on the highway with the premium Exide battery range backed by a rock-solid 18-month manufacturer's warranty. Chloride Oxide. Inside from Chloride Oxide.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversations continue this morning, and we're trying to look into, understanding that there's a debt with the system. And there's also a way in which it should be. From a practitioner's point of view, you handle the patients. What would it look like, Dr. Morioki, if you had a health system that worked and worked optimally? Whereby the funds that were necessary were available. What would that look like? A day coming into hospital at whatever level?
Yeah, I think for you to just imagine such a different future, you just need to go to a few countries that have done it and have done it well. I think fundamentally you just start with fixing the funding model. Because at the end of the day, healthcare costs money. There are people, there are drugs, there are machines. So once you make sure there's money, and you can get this money from different models, Nduh talked about scrap the whole membership thing, just come up with a tax and just, fund it the way we fund schools, free primary education. Nobody's told, you don't have a child, you don't pay, or all of us just contribute taxes and school is free. So you can play around with different models, put taxes in there, put personal contributions. You can even put a bit of co-payment. Because remember the other thing with SHA, and that's back to your point about politicizing it, it's important for it to be said to be free. But you'll go to other places where there's a bit of a co-payment, which also contributes to the pool of money, because yes, the payment would have been 100,000, but you have to raise 5. So first, once you fix the funding model, then now after that, everything else is about it will work seamlessly as long as now there is no interference with playing around with the money. So if something is costed correctly, someone comes to hospital, let them get whatever they need, let the hospital get compensated for what they have provided, and then the patient goes home. And you don't even need to go to an outside country. Think of a private hospital with a private insurer. That's what basically happens. You just walk in, scan, they confirm it's you, and you go get your service. You never even follow up after that. Like, you never even know when the insurance paid the hospital. And when you come back again, it's working as you left it. So if you can do that in a smaller kind of bubble, just fix the funding issue. Because fundamentally, and I remember when we were choosing courses back after high school, there was this course called actuarial science, and a lot of people used to say you have to be very bright to do it. I never used to understand what it was for. But this is essentially what we're talking about, like how much. Because, like, for example, SHA now, for a family and all the dependents and diet, you're given 3 major procedures. I think it's 2 major procedures and 3 minor procedures. So as I was giving an example, if I got into an accident and I broke both my femur bones, those 2 are already 2 for my family. Now, if my wife was in the same car or my children were in the same car, already our family is already done with the whole SHA pot. So the funding and the modeling around this issue is the root problem. Every other thing, the corruption, the systems, the digitization, now all those are just, you're trying to sugarcoat and trying to really paint over like a very rotten house.
I mean, you know, Dr. has mentioned something that I think we just want to talk about, right? In a model where a system is working well, corruption would not be a problem. Because then again, where corruption does not exist, Wananchi would see the need of paying because they know their money would go into the right use, right? That as well in the messaging that we see that comes from government on what SHA ought to do, the politicization of the same. I feel like the entire communication of what SHA is, how it will benefit Wananchi is not there. So Wananchi is like, the hell? When I get sick, I'm gonna look for the 6,000 bob pay if I get it anyway, and I will pay because they do not see the need anyway. So let's talk about corruption that does exist. Let's talk about poor communication and even handling the funding mechanism, because one would say where we have 32 million people who are registered, if you came up with Lipa Pole Pole and make it easier for someone to be dropping in money, they're adding into that pool. But you're being told to pay annually. You know, where many do not have that. How do we fix these things, especially when you talk about corruption? Because we have ghost school, not ghost schools, or that's to exist, ghost hospitals and ghost patients, but they are paid. How do we deal with them? Because has even the new system addressed that?
No, the new system has not yet addressed that. Why? Because we already have 5,000 facilities using the HMIS. So when the CS and the CEO of SHA was talking about 3 months for people to transition, they were targeting the other 6,000 that have not yet transitioned. But be as it may, remember that to transition will cost money. So
again,
it will cost money because that facility has to acquire that HMIS. The only question is, for every policy change or for every policy being established, has it been budgeted for? So in Kenya, we have a way of introducing a policy, then we budget after. So instead of budgeting and then introducing a policy. So for example, if I was the one running government, I should have budgeted for the transition to the HMIS so that I can support those small clinics, I can support those hospitals or healthcare centers in the rural setup. Remember, they are the mostly affected. I would, give technical support, the training of the healthcare workers that will actually use that system. It will cost you money to train those healthcare workers on how to utilize that system. So whenever you don't put money aside to accomplish a certain task, then the implementation will be very, very messy. Now, to solve the funding problem that Dr. was talking about, there is no way you can bring money in so long as the Kenyan citizen do not have a job. So long as the unemployment rate will always be high, be assured we'll always have problems. And even if you introduce Lipa Pole Pole, kama hakuna hiyo polepole, hiyo kidogo kidogo, there will be no contribution. So I would insist, whoever will come into government, create jobs for Kenyans, they will have a purchasing power and they will purchase those premiums, or they will be able to contribute. Even if you introduce a tax, they will be able to contribute towards it. Because even if you introduce a sin tax, for example, let's say sugar, for example, if I don't have the purchasing power to buy that sugar, still you will not get anything to contribute towards that healthcare system. So we have to introduce that. Then also remember, so long as government does not have a social contract for any policy done publicly for the public, if there is no social contract between the citizens and the government, that thing will never work. So the social contract between the Kenyan citizens and SHA has never been good. So there is always mistrust. And the moment there is mistrust, it will be a struggle day in, day out. Even that lipa polepole, even when you go preaching the gospel, there is still no trust. It will never come to fruition. So for the corruption, we need to see those ghost facilities, those people who have caused fraud. Have they been, put to jail? Have we seen people being fired and actually returning that money that has been taken away from that fund? Until we do that is when you will create that social contract again to come back between the Kenyan citizen and the people. But we need to have a president who will have political goodwill. Because without a political goodwill, nothing will ever work. As much as we say it, we don't politicize, but let me tell you, political goodwill goes a very long way. When you look at those countries we are talking about, that where it's a tax-funded public healthcare system, that it is working because there is goodwill. From the leadership all the way to the citizens, there is goodwill. But when you realize that your leaders are going to go to India, go to London for healthcare, why would the citizen trust it? If our own leaders don't trust our healthcare system, why would I also trust the healthcare system? So because of all those factors and issues, then we still have a very long way to go until we have the ideal healthcare system that Dr. was talking about.
Are people going untreated in the country at the moment who require medical care?
I think the answer to that will be yes. Because at the end of the day, for example, first of all, there are people who don't even have the money for the SHA payment. So there are those.
The 600 shillings if you were in that band,
yes,
for example, or 720 per year.
300 shillings.
Yeah, 300 shillings.
And then there are those who are now insured by SHA. But then you go to a facility, and because the facility has not been compensated, they just say we are not accepting SHA patients. So you're essentially stuck. It's like paying for an insurance, and when you go to a hospital, they tell you, oh, we no longer take that insurance. So there's a lot of fall of people who can access services from SHA.
So we make the connection now, because a lot of times, I mean, here in this room, the things that we get to hear is that SHA is not working, SHA is not working, SHA is not working. And so now we can finally make the connection so that when you go to a medical facility and you're denied services, not because there is no hospital, not because there are no medical staff there, not because there's no medicine or equipment, but because this facility, for example, has gone unpaid.
Yes.
They will tell you, we cannot treat you under SHA. Yes. So is that person right then to say that SHA is not working?
Exactly.
Yes, they are.
And in fact, even like some of the doctors I represent, Nairobi County government, their healthcare insurance policy is by SHA. They used to be under private cover. I think it was Jubilee. They decided, let's try SHA to provide cover for our 20,000 members of staff. This week, you go to a hospital, MP SHA is accepting SHA. But then they haven't been paid for a while. Next week when you come back, they have a policy out there, like no more SHA patients.
Yeah.
You go to Nairobi Hospital, same. Everybody same. And then now when SHA compensates them a bit, then they can say, okay, fine, we can open our doors a bit more. So even the lack of reliability of cover for even our members, even for people who actually work and pay those that 2.75%, SHA is not working for them. Actually, the places that SHA is really working well, and we be honest with it, because a healthcare insurance provider has many aspects. Number one is collecting the money. I don't think there's a Kenyan who should be deducted SHA who's not getting deducted. The other place that SHA is doing really well sometimes is getting people to get free cover. This is the normal Mwananchi sometimes who gets it. But the healthcare system itself, both as consumers and as providers, are the ones bearing the brunt of the weaknesses of SHA.
I'll give you an example. I come from Njeri town constituency. And during the week, Monday to Friday, patients will be seen and SHA will cover. But when it comes to Saturday, they are told SHA is not working, they'll have to pay cash. Why? Because there's delayed payments to the healthcare providers. They have to look for a way and get some little cash to sort some of their few problems. Because by the time they wait for that SHA money to come, it may take a long period of time. And remember, these facilities have suppliers. Those suppliers are Kenyan citizens like you and me. And remember, if those healthcare facilities do not pay me money as a supplier, then I will also not contribute to SHA. You see, because that's where my income is coming from. So only recently that they have changed the system, but every mother walked into a healthcare center, they were first told to remove 200 shillings and then register for SHA. And then you can be seen by a doctor. But then when they go on a weekend, that is on a Saturday, they are told today, sorry, you have just to pay cash 100 shillings. There are those people, even that 100 shillings is difficult to come by. And definitely they'll be denied access. So I'm just proving to you that it's true. That there are people who will literally not access any healthcare services because of how the system has been set. And remember now, healthcare providers will become creative. So they'll be saying maybe 3 days we use SHA and then 2 days we do cash, so that at least we'll be having some little money or some petty cash to keep us going by. But that is not how it was intended to be. So if only SHA can have prompt payment of those debt, SHA has way of ensuring that the fraud is minimized. They have a very good claims management, team to actually do that work and separate. Actually, what we had advocated for. The healthcare, the provider for insurance, that is SHA, should be separate from the person also doing claims. Because you cannot not be one and the same body. You get those two should have actually been separated. But when we introduced that recommendation again, Parliament ignored us. Yeah.
So, Doc, we find ourselves, I think, we're in between a rock and a hard place. A new system is there already. Healthcare providers and hospitals are a little bit on the fence about it, because also on in terms of their data, on the fence about it. There hasn't been engagement or conversations on how this thing is going to be achieved. When you talk about universal health coverage for everybody, that is a fundamental right, should be affordable and accessible and of good quality. With all things existing, is it story, or is there any intention in actually offering this service?
No, I think as I said earlier, I always ascribe good faith. I think there are a lot of smart people working at the Ministry of Health, at the Digital Health Agency. There are lots of people who really want to do something. I think the problem is then they're caught between what we were saying, a bit of lack of political seriousness. I'll just call it seriousness because it's not difficult to understand what we're discussing. And then just being caught in between that and coming up with solutions to problems that they really can fix, because they can't fix the fundamental one. So, for example, when they're changing the system now, you can really see the thinking behind it. I can really picture the people saying, we need the hospital to be run through a system we have visibility through, because it helps with our verification, it helps with reducing fraudulent claims, it helps even with the other benefits. For example, like you can now, your records are here and you can go to another hospital and they know what you're treated for in the other hospital. But then on the other hand, the issue of data, like who owns this data? Why? Who's going to keep a record of this data? Because if I went to MP SHA and I had a surgery on something very private, and that medical information leaks, then I have someone to hold accountable, MP SHA. But then now, if it's part of like a digital superhighway, as the government likes imagining it, then who do I hold accountable to? And how do you know the government won't even weaponize people's health records? Because health is a very personal thing. That's why you can see even a lot of leaders, when they get sick, they want to be treated abroad. Fundamentally, it's not even that the hospitals in Kenya are not good. It's even for the privacy aspect, because this is actually very useful information falling in the hands of people who are not of like the same persuasion of you. And I just wanted to even add something around the issue of what SHA is also doing to try and manage the issue of lacking enough money. Because it's one thing to not deny a claim, but then you can also elongate the process of paying someone so much that fundamentally just doesn't work. Because if you look at these debts, I can see the numbers being put there. I think there should be a breakdown from the control of budget. Where is this money stuck? Because once you see a patient today, all patients are seen on credit, even private insurance. Like the insurance doesn't pay the hospital the same day. Before you leave the hospital, most hospitals have made the claim to SHA. Then you open a window of verification. Verification, they will try to look at, is the data correct? Is this person, was this actually done? And now, if you take months to do that process, are you taking months because you can't do it faster? Or is it you're taking months because you also don't want to get to a point where you now know you owe this institution?
Do you think SHA has the capacity to resolve all the claims, to verify all the claims that say are given to them on a daily basis?
That's a whole other Pandora's box.
But they don't have cash flow.
Yeah, and then they also bring up issues of, we are trying to use a bit of AI. You can imagine basing payments based on, can AI match whether the name is the same here as the same here? And then there's a very high rate of claim rejection that somehow reeks of the intention to reduce the claims. Because when you make a claim to SHA and they find something like, for example, the names do not tally, there's a letter missing in one of the names, they reject the claim. Entirely. And entirely, there's no cause of recourse. And remember, that person came with a broken hand. You treated them weeks ago. It's taken weeks to get it even verified. Then you get, that has been rejected. Cause identity mismatch, for example. That person is out there using that hand now. There's no recourse you can get from SHA. The doctor, the implant, everything that was done was already done. And then what you now see is hospitals now making claims departments. Almost people take personal responsibility. Because it's the same way in a restaurant where if you break a glass or something, we will charge you for that. Now hospitals are saying, if you make a mistake making this claim, because there's no cause for recourse, you'll take responsibility. And that makes you wonder, is it because you're trying to reduce the number of claims because you don't have enough money? Because an honest broker would tell you, we found that these are not matching, please go back to your records. Rectify and resubmit. But when you say, this is fraudulent, we're not paying, done.
You're sending a deeper message. And here we are thinking that we're just talking about the SHA debt, but it seems that there's a lot more, too many layers of all of this to then try and figure out. But it must be, and all of these things come together to form this perfect menu. How you then be able to serve up proper, medical care and keep the system in place. But it seems like this one needs to actually go back to the bottom, as Beatrice has told us this morning. Thank you both for being part of this conversation. We'll keep it at the front burner because it needs to be right there and we watch it so it doesn't boil over. Dr. Bill Morioki.
I think Dr. as well needs to tell us, what do you apply in your hair? But conversation for us.
Dr. Bill Morioki with the hair, chairman of the KMPDU Nairobi and a NEC member, as well as Beatrice Cairo, health economist and public policy expert. Thank you both for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Asante, good morning. Up with the news with Sheila Tambor.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tambor. The High Court has ordered President William Ruto to reconstitute his cabinet within 120 days after finding it violates the Constitution's 2/3 gender rule. A 3-judge bench ruled that the current cabinet composition breaches Article 27, Section 8, noting that out of 25 members, only 7 are women against 18 men, falling below the required gender threshold. The court said the underrepresented gender must hold at least 9 positions for for compliance. Justice Eric Ogola directed the president to ensure future appointments comply with the Constitution, including Articles 10 and 27. However, the court declined to invalidate cabinet appointments solely on the basis of reappointing former ministers after the 2024 dissolution, stating that dismissal does not bar future appointment unless tied to constitutional violations. The judges also upheld the legality of appointing opposition figures in a broad-based cabinet, but cautioned that inclusivity does not override constitutional requirements on representation and accountability. Healthcare providers have been given 3 months to fully integrate their systems with the Health Management Information System or risk losing contracts with SHA. The directive was issued during a stakeholder forum in Nairobi convened by the Ministry of Health, SHA and the Digital Health Agency to discuss the transition from the SHA provider portal to a new integrated digital platform. In a statement, SHA CEO Mercy Mungai said the migration is aimed at improving efficiency, accountability and service delivery under the Taifa Care Program. She warned that non-compliant facilities will be decontracted after the deadline, noting that full integration will streamline claims processing, reduce reimbursement delays and enhance accountability in the health sector. Shah said the new system is expected to improve operational efficiency, speed up claims payments and strengthen oversight across healthcare services in the country. And the government has repatriated more than 26 Kenyans from South Africa, with more expected to arrive today following unrest and attacks targeting immigrants in the country. Foreign and Diaspora Affairs PS Roslyn Jogo said the first group of returnees has already arrived, while about 200 Kenyans have applied for repatriation after the government urged those willing to return to come forward. She added that around 100 Kenyans have been granted shelter at the Kenyan Embassy in Pretoria as monitoring of the security situation continues.
We are expecting a group of 63 Kenyans to arrive a little bit later tonight and another group to arrive tomorrow. So far, since we issued a call to the Kenyan diaspora living in South Africa who would like to be evacuated or who are facing or who feel that they are currently in danger, since we issued a call for them to register, we've had just a little bit over 200 people registering. At our Kenya High Commission now in Pretoria, we have a group of more than 100 Kenyans who are taking shelter at the Kenya High Commission in Pretoria, and our team from the Kenya High Commission is extending services to them and has offered sanctuary and shelter.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Timur.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why they're not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They are being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Baba should disown these experts and they say they went there on the because he keep on telling us that these experts just you came from Dubai and you found them they're already at State House looking for jobs.
Government has to has to introduce austerity measures. It's something that this government and the previous ones have not been able to do in this country. We've talked about it so many times.
And really, I think you have seen the modus operandi of William Samoei Ruto since he came in. It's just showbiz.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Very good morning to you. And yikes, it leaves us a little bit confused in terms of what might happen in the future when it concerns health. But it's obvious that what you have may not work in the way in which you need it to at the moment. And that there are actually things that you can do to ensure that it works. The question is whether you will actually do it.
Yes.
There's a solution. Will you actually take the thing by the horns? Power us into the next conversation, sir.
Let me tell you one thing that you don't need to question whether it's going to work or not. Chloride oxide is telling you, you need not to worry. Because modern day cars have come with a system called start-stop technology that helps you in terms of saving fuel, also just cleaning the environment, right? And with that now, every time you are in traffic, when you when you hit the brake, it goes off. When you remove it, go to the accelerator, it turns on. And what that does to your battery is it consumes a lot of that battery because for you to ignite a vehicle, it consumes a lot of energy, right? But chloride oxide is telling you over 60 years that they have been in existence, they have ensured that they go with the times. The research and development has gone into their batteries and they have improved on the same. They are telling you today that because you are enjoying your vehicle, it needs maximum power. They will give you that power and deliver it instantly. You need not to worry, right? That in the event that, assuming you're going to the Bondus, right? And it's dark at night, it has rained, there is matope that has gone to your headlight. Because you have headlight washers, that battery will assure you that that headlight washer will wash your headlight. Some even have wiper blades for the headlight. It will work because it comes with 18 months warranty. They're standing against everything else that their name is out there to be protected. If you need the right battery for your vehicle, all you need to do is get chloride oxide battery.
That's it. That's exactly it. We don't need to go beyond the details. In terms, you'll tell us that whether they can bring it to you. You'll tell us that later.
I'll tell you that later.
Abductions, a walk down memory lane is the conversation that we're having at this hour. And that this is in light of the things that we're still seeing happening. And that the proclamations that have actually been made coming from the Interior Ministry via the PS, but also some of the pictures that we see and the testimonials that come from different people. We're going to be looking into all of that this hour with Wafula Abuke, who's an activist, and we'll be looking through all of this, and he'll give us a little bit of his personal experience as well. But we'll say a very good morning to you and welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us this morning. Not an easy conversation to have, but it's necessary that we do because there are a lot of people who are stuck in this dragnet at the moment. But before we do that, as we normally do, we go around the African continent every week. We come back from a different country with its proverbs. Dennis will tell you where we are. We'd love to hear from you.
Today we are in Basotho land, Lesotho, right? The people of the country have these hats that they wear, which is their symbol pretty much. You'd see the same on the flag as well. They also have a blanket. Why? Because the entire country is 1,000+ feet above sea level, so it's really cold. If you want to enjoy winter and maybe you want to make that snow angel, you just go to Lesotho. You don't need to leave the continent.
I don't want to go through.
Yeah. But did you know as well that they are they supply water to South Africa? They call themselves to be the water tower of South Africa. So they export water as a resource aside from diamonds that they do have as well. Okay. But let's go to the proverb. Yeah. Even a small meal reaches the mouth. Even a small meal reaches the mouth. How would you interpret it? What do you think Basotho are telling us?
Even a small meal reaches the mouth.
Yeah.
I think the proverb is appropriately African, because for us, food is not a small matter. So appreciating, it's a message that seeks to get the recipient of food to appreciate what comes out of after what's availed to his mouth. So I think it's more of just saying that be grateful with whatever you get.
There you get.
I don't know how far off I am.
Nope. Your interpretation will always be right because it is yours. But asante sana for interpreting it, because it pretty much speaks about appreciating the little steps, the little things that come with life. Asante sana.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if to say unfortunately, are thrown back into the situation where we have to discuss abductions and what exactly happens in the process of this happening. And we again can't run away from the promise that was made, or at least the acknowledgement that this was a horrible thing, and whereby the promise was made that, these things will be a thing of the past and that will not happen anymore. But that doesn't seem to be the case, does it, Wafula? That abductions still continue to happen and that people come back with tales of war. War in the sense of the things that happened to them, undisclosed locations, people who said to be, agents of security agents, asking them who funds them, asking them what agenda that they have. But let's look at this a little bit more closely, especially against the backdrop of what we hear coming from the Interior PS yesterday, that these people are not being abducted. What's happening here is that they're hiding out. Maybe they're taking a couple of days off to cool their heels after a demonstration, but they're not being abducted. And that we're not going to run away from that narrative, taking all of these things into consideration. What do you know about the abductions that have taken place in Kenya over the last, short period of time?
Yeah, I think abductions as a phenomenon, I read the subtitle of our discussions today and read something like Down Memory Lane with regard to abductions. And it's fair that we acknowledge the fact that abductions may have been launched in Africa. The first major abductions took people to America and the Arabic world and that kind of thing. Those were abductions, actually. And they're being done in the same way. So what we are going through proves to us that maybe we have students of those experiences. And now that they have occupied political offices, they're using those offices to execute what they have learned, the negative history that Africa has gone through. But it's a very unfortunate situation that speaks about whether the state is really willing to steer the country by adhering to constitutional provisions, or maybe taking us off and taking us back to history when abductions used to take place. Yeah.
Ofula, when you look at, let's even take the latest incidents that happened in the country, where we have images of individuals being picked up by police.
Yeah.
And we have experienced that once a police officer picked you, I've never seen an incident where a police officer lets you go. They pick you up, the next place you end up is a police station. They'll process you, you're supposed to show up in court, right? But then individuals don't end up in court. Their whereabouts is not known, but they're found one way or the other, having been tortured, having been beaten to a pulp, and that they need medical assistance. That another gentleman shows up, does not speak at all. They are in hospital. But the message that then comes from the Ministry of Interior, those in charge of protecting Kenyans, including the protesters, say these Kenyans were not abducted, these Kenyans did not disappear, they were in for hiding. Is there any sincerity, or does it make sense that I would go into hiding from whoever knows what, and I hurt myself while in hiding? Does that statement make sense?
It absolutely doesn't. Fortunately, I think these are government that will go down in history as that has worked based on falsehoods, spreading lies. And even if we say there was one person or two who has abducted himself, against what background does that fellow do it, if at all? It's that fellow will be doing it because everybody knows that this is a government of abductors, and therefore if I do this, the government will be blamed. So I know that the government has embraced abductions as a tool in managing our society and seeing to it that whatever things they would like to do in government is enforced, and those who are opposed to it are suppressed through abductions. So there's no truth in the fact that people are abducting themselves. I attended the funeral of a young man called Denzel Omondi in Karachonyo. And when I arrived, he was also abducted. I'm told he was found in Thika.
In
dam somewhere. Yeah. So when I arrived, they had covered the coffin and nobody was allowed to see it. But I went and pleaded the family, not the family, but the person who was in charge of the space. Say, I've come all the way from Bungoma to mourn this boy. Yeah. Surely I can't go back without having seen him. And they showed me the body. I have never seen anything so bad. It looked like he had been hit by about 5 axes, an axe, katakuni. It's like there are 5 major scars on the skull, and that's why the owners of the boy had covered the coffin and refused people to really come and see. I actually went to Babu Wino and asked him, please. I remembered what happened to JM Kariuki, because JM Kariuki's body and pictures are available. I told Babu Wino, please, can you use your reputation here because you're respected? Go and take that picture so that we can keep it for people to see what happened to this boy and what abductions really mean. I think he didn't agree with me, so he didn't take the picture, but I felt bad. I just wish that one day we could have pictures like that for us to look at and remember. But abductions are taking place in Kenya, and the injuries being inflicted on our people range from physical injuries that are clearly visible to invisible injuries. Perhaps that's why this boy is in hospital, is not able to speak. It's because of injuries. Because, torturers keep changing tactics from one tactic to another. Just like, they can disperse and block the roads. So also at the level of torture, they are able to inflict injury to people of various types, including that of Denzel Omondi.
Why do you think it's a tool that's being used? If you take somebody and, hold them up in a place for some time, what would one hope to achieve by keeping this person away and doing whatever it is that's done to them?
I think it speaks to the spirit of the person, of the perpetrator. First, this is a person who doesn't want to be guided by the law. Then this also is a person who knows that he is or she is doing wrong. And so the whole idea of applying abductions is to get the targeted victims into spaces where there's no monitoring. Yeah, there's no monitoring, there are no reports, there are no official records, there's no OB, so there's no follow-up. And you realize that some of these people who are abducted are even killed. So they need abductions as a way of covering up on their crimes, but it also speaks about them. as people who do not have any proper intentions of actually enforcing the law.
The government of the day was very clear that there was going to be a reduction, if not complete stop to this kind of thing. That enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killing was a thing of the past. So when you say something like that, there is the acknowledgement, at the very least, that this is an abhorrent thing, that it is a terrible thing that you cannot actually engage in, and that the damage that it does to individuals and families and to the society at large is something that you will not be able to come back from. So there is the acknowledgement of that. Why then? So everybody knows it's a bad thing. That's my point.
Yeah.
Why then would we see that there is a resurgence of that? Maybe to some extent even worse than what was before. Because in some cases, these people come back and they don't speak. There are people who are active on social today who talk of other things except what happened to them when they were away. Why then do we see a resurgence in the face of a promise that was made to reduce this, from your opinion?
You see, every action has a cause, and the reason why abductions began was because the state was determined to push down the throats of Kenyans. Bad policies or projects and policies that have not been gone through public participation and approval, policies that are also inconsistent with the law. So now the only way you can allow people to enjoy the freedom of speech is when you're able to really act on what they say. So the declaration by the government that abductions not take place cannot be sustained if the government is still determined to fight against the people. It's been unable to deal with issues of joblessness, poverty. It has even raised the cost of fuel and raised the cost of living. Now, against that background, you need an oppressive hand to manage a population that's supposed to protest and even demand for your exit. So, proclamations that they will stop abductions is all not possible if they cannot enforce the rights that people have been demanding for. And you recall that there were demos around fuel, not demos really, but protests around fuel rise, which was really very, very high. So the government is just living up to what we should expect, because to free people, you must allow them, you must give them an environment that makes them enjoy the freedoms that they deserve. Yeah. In the absence of that, I think they will still need to oppress people to survive. And one of those avenues is through, abductions, as we say them. Now, coming to how people go to get arrested, abducted, and they come out and keep quiet. Those are experiences I've gone through. Anytime I've been arrested about 24 times. I was counting the other day. It's around that. And most of those interrogations, you will not go to the police department, be abducted or arrested, and stay for long without coming out with some agreement. I'm just telling you as facts. You come out and either you agree to be the informer or you agree that you will not participate in anything that is political.
Failure to which?
I'll give my example. Since you said I also talk about experiences.
Yes.
There's a time when I left Uganda and came back from exile. I came and we launched the National Union of Students of Kenya. National Union of Students of Kenya, 1992. And that time I'd come back, we were trained guerrillas, were scattered in the country. So they arrested me and took me to Gigiri. But you see, I had a problem. Because I was keeping the documents and pictures of underground leaders, Dr. Adawiti, Professor Mungai met in Uganda, and then Nduh and many other, Lumumba Denda, those kind of people, many. So now I needed to come up with a strategy that gives me a chance to go and get those documents somewhere else. And unfortunately, I'd gone with them, with my wife, when I was hiding them. So I was feared they could go and beat her, and then she reveals where the documents are. And if those documents are released, then all of us will be rounded up, and they will have evidence to charge us. So I thought the best strategy is for me to do an agreement with them and be set free. So I signed an agreement that they said I'll not go back to any learning institution.
Okay.
No stepping in the university, no stepping in a primary school, no stepping in a nursery school. Just keep off from all learning institutions.
These were police?
These were police,
okay.
Yes. Because I was the chairman of the National Union of Students of Kenya. So now, according to that agreement, I was supposed to come out and I would not engage in student politics. But I signed because I needed to go back, take those documents and give them to somebody else. So they released me. And the first thing I did is go to Kisumu, get those documents, and I gave them to Nduh to keep them so that now it can be okay. I'm saying that anybody who goes to custody is always made to either sign an agreement that you will not do ABC, you will keep quiet, and failure to do that, they'll come for you. So many people get in those agreements and end up keeping quiet.
How do you reach the agreement, Wafula?
How?
Because I can't imagine that you're sitting across a table and somebody says to you, Wafula, do you agree? And you say, yes, I agree, we sign, let's go.
Yes.
It would seem as though there needed to be other forms of persuasion that were not palatable to the physical.
From my experience, it is basically just a situation where you are you've been tortured and you want to use an open. I've given talks on how to survive torture, so I know how to manage torture and interrogation a bit. So the issue here is playing on them and listening to them, manipulating them, those kind of things. But the end result has to be such that it achieves what you want. Well, when they released me, the first place I slept was Kikuyu campus, which is breaking the law.
After you promised that you would not.
Yes, after I promised. And then I also addressed the media and said the National Union of Students of Kenya will continue the way it is. But I had done a more important thing, which was rescuing the documents of my underground movement. But the point I'm trying to drive at is that those who come out and keep quiet most likely have been subjected to the same experience. Yeah, and intimidation, of course.
I mean, we find ourselves as well, despite the promise that was given during the campaign period that abductions and disappearance of Kenya would end, because we're also just coming off the Yala River bodies that we saw as a country. And that was, one would say that was a political tool that was used at the time. And the current president used that during the campaign period. But you get into his government, there are abductions that we see. They get into broad-based government, there is an agreement, and that forms the 10-point agenda as well. Again, a second time, another promise that has been given that would stop. But you get to 2025, again, we see the same being repeated. 2026, again, it's being repeated, despite existence of the 10-point agenda under the broad-based arrangement, which then leaves us asking the most difficult and chilling question then, that abduction is a way of dealing with dissent, that if you do not sing praise and hallelujah to government, then abduction is a tool that will be used to silence you or for them to achieve, to implement that which they want then.
I have talked to a few people who have been in government, and I think you also know that when our government takes, when our government, gets elected and takes office, unfortunately, what they always have to do is remove those who are there and put their own. Now, what does that mean? It means elevating people from poor positions to real serious positions. The first police commissioner, IG, the first IG was called Coleman.
Yes.
Nobody can say there's anything in that fellow. He's an incompetent person. But you see, he's being elevated to that position because he's supposed to be a member of the new team, isn't it? And this happens in all levels. So now, some of those acts of incompetence arise from the fact that those who take power do not respect merit. They come by lifting their own tribespeople or their own colleagues and friends to office. Now, before they land that particular office, they've already committed so many crimes. That's one of the issues that sometimes may cause that particular problem. Now, the other issue is enthusiasm. You see, the experience you've had as Kenyan people is that when a government takes office, the first thing it does is do rewards those who have spent their money in campaigns, pay themselves and that kind of thing. So you create are people who are disoriented by the many benefits that are accruing to them because of being part of the government. So some crimes are crimes of enthusiasm. You know, you come there and you're excited and you're making money and your brain goes blunt. In the process, anything you engage with, if somebody's fighting, you say, what's wrong with this guy? What does he want? The desire to use shortcuts to suppress opposition starts emerging just because of the madness that comes with the desire, the gains that are accruing from being in government. So that, I think, may explain some of the causes. But another cause also is that you are put in office, you have made pledges, you promised to do several things, and you lack the competence. Maybe you overpromised. So now, how do you hold dialogue with a person who asks questions and you no answer? So you find repression finding its way because you must understand that fellow is not he was not as he is dealing with a situation that you should understand that he cannot be able to deliver on. So political suppression emerges as a means by which you can suppress dissent that emerges directly from failing to execute promises that you offered. Yeah.
What do you think, before we take a break, to go into what do you think? Because right now it would appear as though if you show up on the street during a commemoration, if you're on social media making your voice known in one way or another, if you do a news report, if you share information that you are directly concerned about, then you're a candidate for possible abduction, whereby a conversation will be had with you, and where, according to you, at the end of the day, you're going to come out with an agreement in one way or another. What do you think people ought to do, or what do you think people ought to be prepared for? Because, I mean, it's sad that we have to say it like that, but it looks as though it's the modus operandi right now that, in fact, we often make jokes about it every now and then. We say, well, utakujiwa, that kind of thing, you know? So what should people be prepared for? Because we've already gone through it. The promise made is not likely to be upheld in terms of the reduction. But what do you need to remember if you ever find yourself in a position of threat?
You see, I don't know whether I have the experience that can help me answer that. But what we learn from history is that these acts of repression have led to people changing forms of struggle. You know, when political assassinations and arrests and, torture happened during the Moi era. What happened? There was a season of almost some lull when politics went underground. People started organizing through things like Makenya, that kind of thing. I think if overt methods of struggle are blocked by the state, people have no choice but to try and find out what kind of language does the state speak so that we can speak to it. And in the 70s and 80s in Africa, fellows even went and picked up guns to prepare to engage the system. You see, I'm saying that suppression of democratic means by which people can deal with their government normally leads to, people using underground methods. All I know is that struggle never stops, because if you look back, we have had a very interesting experience where instead of people fighting the government, they go and fight the allies. They go and they destroy their buildings because the state has become so difficult. So what do? We turn on the supporters of the state. So I'm saying that the struggle will continue, but targeting the government, but it will get more sophisticated, like it was in our times when it had to go underground and fellows go into exile and got military trainings. And in the Kenyan experience, of course, targeting businesses of those who are supporting the government so that the government can somehow feel the pain. And who knows, they may evolve and reach a point and say, speak violence, you also speak violence. Yeah, anything is possible.
All right, well, we're going to look at those who came out of what would be an abduction over the last couple of days. We'll have that conversation, and we'll tie this in to truth of the matter situations where individuals who said they were abducted were actually not. Then How do we deal with that? Wafula Buke joins us in the studio this morning. We're looking at abductions, and we're looking at the threats of them, and we're looking at how to handle them, and we're looking at what the hope will be that they don't actually remain a thing. We'll be back after this. Let's look at traffic, and we'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
Traffic update brought to you by Chloride Oxide.
Still continues to be a busy morning, and we're looking at traffic now heavy on Mombasa Road, heading out past, coming in from Next Gen, and that's actually in from Himara Daima, finding its way slowly. Outbound is very busy this morning. That construction of the overpass walkway is still bringing some traffic. And then also, as you then pass that Southern Bypass junction and head out through towards Capital Centre, through towards Haile Selassie, busy this morning. Busy on Jogo Road as you head out also. Landis Road will be busy as you touch on Wakulima at this point. There's still a lot of traffic around the Pangani underpass coming off of the Thika Superhighway. And into the city is where everybody seems to be coming this morning. James Gishuru, coming in all the way from Kingara Road, is busy as you cross over the Red Hill Link Road, has some traffic as well, touching on Lower Kabete Spring Valley, the Red Hill Link Road through to Limuru Road. So there's still traffic. We'll keep an eye on things and we'll keep it moving. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Traffic update was brought to you by Chloride Oxide. Wherever the road takes you these days, stay powered by Chloride Oxide. Get total peace of mind on the highway with the premium Exide battery range backed by a rock-solid 18-month manufacturer's warranty. Chloride Oxide, inside from Chloride Oxide.
Yaya Sidewalk Sale is here. From 29th June to 5th July, enjoy up to 50% off on selected items at participating stores. Make your end-of-month budget go further with amazing deals on fashion, beauty, home essentials, electronics, and more. Don't miss a week of incredible savings and rewarding shopping. Yaya Center. Why go anywhere else?
So many forward here. Titles are on the line. Rivalries are at their peak. This is the final stretch where legends rise and champions are made. From the Saudi League to the Bundesliga and La Liga. Recharge your monthly subscription today to feel the pressure, feel the passion, feel the game. Every pass, every goal, every moment matters. Don't miss a moment. Renew your subscription and stay in the game. To renew your subscription, dial *858# for self-service or get in touch with our call center on 0719 077 077 for customer care. Buy a StarTimes decoder at any of our dealer shops countrywide. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy all your favorite shows and stream live channels on the move. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life. Sebastian Allaire.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We continue our conversation this morning. We're talking about abductions with Wafula Buke. And why we're doing this is that if there's ever a time that it's getting a little bit crazier than it was before, and that there are more stories of folks across age divides that have been abducted. But interestingly enough is that the larger percentage are of folks who will not say another word about it. There's a gentleman whose name I will not mention, who during the 2024 protests was taken. He was gone for about 10 days. And when he was released, he was in full glare of the media. And I spoke to him on the phone personally, and I said, come in and let's have a conversation about some of the things that perhaps happened and what you would still be looking for towards Kenya. And he said to me very clearly, unequivocally, and he said, Nduh, I will never speak another word in the public for as long as I'm alive in Kenya. And I asked him, what happened to you? And he said to me, these are things also that I will never be able to speak about again. And I see him in his business. He continues. He's still doing he's still in Kenya, still working. But of the happenings in that 10-day period, he will never speak of them. And I tried to understand, and it haunted me what he said. And I said, what could have possibly happened to him to reach the resolve whereby he would choose that he would never speak? Is it the agreement that you speak of, Wafula? Or is it the fear of what could possibly happen to him if he ever engaged again?
See, when I was jailed many years ago, I had a very shocking experience in prison. That you go to prison and you come out and you don't believe that there's such a world anywhere. And I came to understand why we do not know about prison life. We do not know about prison life because it's so traumatizing that when you get out, you don't want to talk about it. You see, the experiences you go through, the humiliation you go through, makes you just shut up, say, let me close this and start another chapter. I think it may be the same thing that happened this young man. He goes there, gets traumatized, and decides that the best thing to do is to shut that window so that doesn't really have memories that he can relieve. So that I think is one of the explanations. When people have gone through a lot of trauma, and it's possible that this particular person was not as convicted, as grounded in what he was doing in terms of understanding as others have been. So you go join the struggle or a demonstration as an adventurer, then you find yourself in a world you never thought about. And if you look at most of the political people who go to prison and come out, those who remain firm are those who go to prison consciously knowing that they are doing this and it's right. But if a fellow just finds himself or herself in a torturous environment and experience like these particular ones were going through, when you come out, the first thing is, please let me start from where I was and continue the way I did. That's one. Obviously, you cannot go to custody and come out and be told, continue doing what you're doing. You will be subjected to torture and be told, well, if you want torture, we are all yours. Just proceed, we shall come for you. Is that clear? Of course, an innocent Kenyan soul that took part in a demo must say yes. So I think this is the case with a younger comrade who decided to keep quiet. He's not alone.
And look at the comrade who is in bed. I'm not sure that he's been released from hospital just yet. Luchima, this is not the first rodeo. He's been arrested before. He has been on the streets 2024. In fact, Dennis tells us this morning that he at some point was arrested and even released by police to carry on his business.
2024.
In 2024. But he lies in this hospital bed and he's not said a word. He's not said anything to anybody about what could have possibly happened. So in this case, it's such a hard question, but in this case, do the forces win when he's silent? Whatever it is that they wanted to achieve has been achieved in the silence of those who've been released. Same thing with the Kitengela 4. After Masengeli refused to go and attend to court orders 6 times, on the 7th he presented himself to court, Masengeli being the deputy IG of police. And on the same day the Kitengela 4 were released, they've never said, they said a little bit about what happened to them.
They required.
Yeah, they talked about the torture. Bob Njagi talks about the torture that they went through. But then still, I believe Bob Njagi, as we speak, is in detention, waiting for a court date about what he's said to have done over the last couple of days. But what would have happened to silence somebody for days in this manner?
Yeah, we are being led by very educated people. Very educated, one as a PhD, another as a professor, and the lawyer, the Interior Security Fellow is Murkomen. I think I hear he has a master's. I'm saying that these are fellows who have managed to do research and understand how to get things done. You know, knowledge is only the value of knowledge is determined by what it's applied on. And if you go to places like Israel, those learned people came up with ways of silencing their opponents. You go to prison and you're given an injection and you die 6 months later after being released. I'm saying that our learned people in power, I think that sometime in future, history may tell us exactly how they are managing to silence people who have been active. But obviously, these people are not keeping quiet. They are being made not to speak. What I don't know is what the state hopes to achieve, because if they have anything they ought to learn is that they beat up young people, kill them. What's the end result? It's now a wound they have to keep wiping every year. Because they kill people, we have to keep asking. You kill people every 20 something. So that is something that ought to tell them that please, violating people's rights doesn't necessarily give you, a good appearance. Instead, you institutionalize and, make yourself a target of condemnation over the years. Yeah. So there we are.
I mean, if you look at the struggle that Kenyans find themselves in today, and even why they get out on the streets, it's because the cardinal document, the constitution that gives them the power to do so, is their document. This is not a document that belongs to any other group. It belongs to Kenyans. It is Kenyans who give the constitution the power it has today. That picketing, demonstrating, or even showing dissent is protected by the constitution that ostensibly the individuals talking about swore to protect and uphold. That the end goal cannot be seen when you abduct, because you will not be able to silence dissent. You might get rid of individuals, but dissenters will always be there. You will have to lick the wound. You will have to deal with the consequences. So would I be right to say that the abductions that you see today, the disrespect to the rule of law, will not achieve anything if the concerns Kenyans are raising are not handled? That everything is an exercise in futility?
You see, yesterday I was passing by Parliament and I met a fairly adult street boy. And we had a chat. Then I asked him, now tell me. Of course, he talked about these poverty issues and that kind of thing. I asked him, now tell me, what do you have? How much money do you have? I told him, I have nothing. Then he removed a Bible. That Bible had an ID and a SIM card. No, so I told him, now, why do you keep all these things? He says, no, me, I'm always praying that I will be a small Bible, that I'll make it. And I think this year I'll make it. And this SIM card, if I'm given somebody has no money, he can give me, and I save it for my insurance. That when I'm down, at least I can take this SIM card to M-Pesa and be given. I'm talking about a fellow who has weapons of survival. An ID, so that he's not arrested, a Bible for his moral direction, and an
ID.
A SIM card for communication.
For communication, and also it's keeping money, it's not communication. Maybe also communication. Now let's go to the guy who is Lichuma, who is in custody.
Yeah.
That guy demonstrated throughout with
the Constitution.
Let's move the Constitution. His weapon, his defense was that document. Now, here we are now. This guy has carried this book, believing that if he meets a law enforcement officer, he'll open and say, please, don't touch me. This is what the Constitution says. Now, the government is saying that he should not carry that book. This book can't help you. Now, tell me, which other book is he going to look for? He has to look for another weapon that can help him. And in my opinion, I see him looking for a book like The Art of War. Because he has to defend himself. And who knows, others may not go for the book, but go for weapons of self-defense. So, the government should feel lucky that the street boy is carrying the Bible. That's his defense. He's not carrying a screwdriver to push it in somebody. The government should be happy that Lichuma, who is in prison, who is in hospital right now, was carrying an official document called the Constitution. Yes. If they make that Constitution not useful, we won't fail to get something else to carry. In our days, I went to Uganda and carried an AK-47. because the constitution could not be carried, it could not defend me. So I'm warning the government that there's no shortage of things to carry. Let the constitution be the only document be carried by Lichuma. If Lichuma can't carry the constitution, he'll find out something which can help him. Yeah.
Do you think this will continue? That forced disappearances, what we know as abductions today, do you think they will continue?
I think there's a limit. There's a limit there's a limit on how long this can go on. One, the intensity of oppression will definitely create a response. And the limit will not be brought by the government, it will be brought by the victims themselves. If the victims come together and say, what we do, then that will define when that particular exercise will stop. Of course, it's 2026, we're headed 2027. One of those periods when I think it may stop is when people come together and say, please, this government has to take a break and we have another one. That other one may be good. In Africa, you can't be sure. They'll take power and you see them fast. They may just give us another replay of the past. But that's a period when it can also stop. But what we learned from the GNC is the power of the people. That you just need a few thousands of people who are determined, and the government will come tumbling. And I think that is another lesson we learned, that some of these acts of oppression can be brought to an end. Of course, Ruto has made history. I don't know that I'm giving credit, because he has given us a price of torture. He says, if you get killed now, you can earn how much?
3 million.
You can earn 3 million. And if they break your leg, you can get something. We have been elevated now to almost the game park situation, where if an elephant does this, you get paid some amount. Now, for me, we have a challenge. And the challenge is that for these things to stop, it may not just take the character of the police. I've heard people say we need to take the police for training. But who directs the police? I think we need to take the political leadership, the government officials for training. If training can bring any change. I don't think it does, because already we have very educated people in office. And if they cannot stop it, then we have a problem. So I do not expect any change during the regime of William Ruto. And I just hope that a moment he needs to show up, maybe before the elections or after the elections, when Kenyans can say, please, you must stop or else.
Yeah. Ofula, the government, you said, has given us a prize for whenever they abduct you.
Shooting the leg.
You're shot in the leg, you die, you're maimed. There is a prize to that. But that, if we just pause and think about what that means, is the government has self-indicted itself by agreeing and saying, we take responsibility for killing, for shooting, for maiming and injuring you. That's essentially what the government is saying. That police officers, or rather orders, would be given today that more Kenyans will be killed, but because we can pay, we will pay. We will kill and we will pay. We will injure and we will still pay. To what end, though? What must we do, Ofula, today for us to get to a point where abductions, extrajudicial killings, stop being the modus operandi in Kenya? Because we can't continue like this in perpetuity. Something must give. What must the political class learn? What must the police learn? And what must Wananchi learn? Because it is not just a conversation that will be left for a particular group. It's a conversation that everybody must get into. We say police officers need curriculum. No. They've been in the curriculum for 9 months before they graduate. Perhaps something needs to be done, but what exactly? What's the solution to where we find ourselves today?
You see, one. I think there are two things I would say. I have no specific answer. I'm not an expert, but we can look at history of Africa and histories of political repression, And there are very many things that come out of history. One of those ways is crafting a project that can crash the state apparatus. I don't know what I mean, but I'm just saying that the state as it exists, we don't want to start from in that finds problems. So how do we get it reworked? And when we say about it being reworked, it's been done in the world. You look at Tanzania. Tanzania arrest is very diplomatic, you know. Jaramogi was arrested from his house in pajamas, abducted. Here's the word. He was abducted in his pajamas. And an old man of that age moved and kept in the cell. You see, that's abduction. Now, in Tanzania, we ask ourselves, how come they say, Nduh,
naomba
nikukamate na kama hujavaa nguo ama unamaliza chai, maliza kikombe twende. You see, how did they arrive at that? For me, we are looking at the ideology of those in power. Are they anti-people or pro-people? The people we have in power today are engaged in the business of making money. Even these development projects you are having, they're available means for making money. I remember being told about someone that I want to mention, say that when we take power, we are going to make sure we build even airports where they are not required, so that we can make money and be richer than Uhuru Kenyatta in 3 years.
Yes.
You get? Their objective is to make money. Is there anything we can do to this gang to make them change and have a Njeri heart? I don't think so. So, solution number one is for us to find an answer to how do we overhaul the state apparatus as it is. That's state number one. And that can come out through an electoral process. Then we also look at how other countries are managing solve their problems. Allow me to talk about Jerry Rawlings. Jerry Rawlings emerged from the army and said, you guys, those of you are obstacles, please go to heaven. Yeah.
Literally.
Mambo ni matatu. So he also came and gathered all of them and dispatched them to heaven. Actually, Ghana changed.
It did.
Yeah. So we like it or not, that is also what history tells us. Then the other challenge we must accept is this, and I don't know how we can deal with it. How can people, maybe it's a constitutional issue, but people emerge and become heads of state and form governments. Then they use the people, the votes, to ascend those particular positions. Then after arriving there, they forget about the people and rely on the instruments of coercion. Blind. Let me tell you, it is correct to call the policemen dogs. They're not human beings. You know? Even your own child has been, but you're still towing the line. What do we do to make sure that we re-engineer the police force so that they can become human beings? Human beings, just being human beings. Because there must be a point at which they can say, this one,
it's too much.
We can't do. Yeah. How do we get there? That's a challenge that maybe should be assigned to Parliament.
For sure. If there was a willingness to do it, we would probably see the conversation. But why we talk about these things is to ensure that conversation remains front and center. And we've said this about very many conversations. That's why we continue to have them. Some of the things that you've said this morning, coming out into the light is the first step. And so we want to thank you for being here with us this morning to look into this. It's our hope that it doesn't get worse, but you've told us it doesn't look like it's going to stop until you change the direction in which you're going. Wafula Bouquet is an activist. He's joined us to talk about the disturbing issue of abductions in the country at the moment. And from what he's saying, it doesn't look like it's going to get better. Not now. So there's something that you must do. Wafula, thank you for joining us this morning. Yes. Our conversations continue. It's 9 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Timbur. A bodyguard attached to Youth Affairs PS Fikirini Jacobs was last evening linked to the fatal shooting of a young man in the Kariakoo area of Nairobi. The deceased, Cecile Oma, 28, was among the youths who had been mobilized to attend a youth empowerment forum in Kariakoo that was attended by the PS. Witnesses say Oma was allegedly shot shortly after the meeting, in which it is believed to have been a disagreement over handouts issued by the PS.
Vijana walikuwa kama 60. Mheshimiwa akatuambia tutoe kiongozi wetu tukampa ses. So akapanda gari na ses kufika Kariakoo stage akapea ses pesa ambapo ilikuwa ni 10,000 ukipiga na watu 60 ni kama 160, of which hawezi pea mtu 160 from morning mpaka jioni alafu mpe 160. Tuliambia wewe mwenzetu rudishia mheshimiwa hiyo pesa yake akae nayo. So ile kumrudishia, conflict ikaanza kwa gari. So conflict kwanza, wanapiga huyu jamaa ndani ya gari na sisi tunasikia kio ile pu 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 pu.
The family claims their son was killed in cold blood, while PS Fikirini's camp now claims the shooting incident was an act of self-defense.
Mimi nataka kuleta hiyo kwa disciplinary committee na tuchukue action, and I want him to resign honorably. Na ule ofisa bunduki yake mwanzo iangaliwe, kwa nini amechukua sheria mkononi? Hata polisi, jameni, polisi, you are there to protect life and security. Una protect life na unaweka mtu kwa gari kisha hati hii ni protection na mnamua.
As a family, we want justice to be served. There's no way you'll call people to a function.
In other news, Kenya could lose about 2,900 jobs and face lower investment due to the Ebola outbreak in the DRC, a new UNDP report warns, despite no cases being reported locally. The report says Kenya is already experiencing indirect economic impacts, including disrupted regional trade, transport delays, and reduced investor confidence. Across Africa, the outbreak will cut economic output by an estimated $2.37 billion and eliminate about 90,000 formal jobs if contained within DRC and Uganda, but regional disruptions persist. In Kenya, tighter border screening and travel restrictions are raising transport costs and slowing supply chains. Angola is projected to suffer the largest job losses, followed by Kenya and South Sudan. UNDP says the impact goes beyond health, warning that women and low-income households are most affected due to reliance on informal cross-border trade and limited financial buffers. The report also cautions that diverted health resources could increase deaths from other diseases, including thousands of additional infant deaths in the DRC if routine care is disrupted. Kenya has allocated 1.7 billion shillings to Ebola preparedness and has screened over 140,000 travelers, with all tested alerts returning negative. The U.S. has also pledged $13.5 million to support preparedness efforts, but UNDP is urging governments to treat Ebola as a wider development challenge, not just a health crisis, and to strengthen health systems, social protection, and economic resilience. And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tembur.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And a very good morning. It's 9:06, and our conversations continue. We're getting into one about human rights in just a short while. But before that, you're powering into the last bit for us.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me tell you, 1963, when that comes to your head, you think, it's the year Kenya got independence. But it's the very same year that chloride oxide became a reality in Kenya. What that means is chloride oxide has powered this country since when it was in force, you know.
Yeah,
so you talk about moving presidents from one point to the other. You talk about ferrying goods from point A to point B, being able to take children to school. That is the power behind the economy and the country that is Kenya today. So chloride oxide pretty much is telling you, while we understand that in the modern day we have computers on wheels, the modern day cars with the navigation system, with safety features, with comfort features in there, you need a power system, a battery that is able to do that. And they are telling you we are able to do that, and you can also do that at the comfort of your home, of your office, wherever it is you are, within a 20-kilometer radius of their distributors or their stores. So all you need to do is call a number 0719 080 000, 0719 080 000 is the number you call. Someone on the other end of that phone call will pick up. They will come to you. They will install that battery. They will diagnose your vehicle. They will tell you whether your alternator is working well. If not, you need to change it. Why? Because perhaps you love music, you decided to upgrade it, and your alternator then is not working well. They diagnose it. They fix it for you, free of what?
Free of charge.
Yes. So that number 0719 080 000 is where you call. Somebody will be there to help you for free.
Absolutely. Love to hear it. And so you have the details of exactly how you can do that. Our conversation shifts gears just a little bit this morning, but actually staying in line with some of the things that we've actually spoken about earlier. We're looking into really investing in democracy and human rights, what exactly that looks like. Two guests join us this morning to enable us have this conversation. Jackson Obare is the Forum Civ Regional Manager. He's here with us this morning. Good morning, Jackson.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Marie Otterson, is the Head of Development Cooperation with Embassy of Sweden in Nairobi. A very good morning to you, Marie.
Thank you. Good morning to you too.
Thank you for joining us in the Situation Room. We're going to get into this heavy topic. It's a big one. But before we do that, we normally go around the African continent every week. We land in a different country. We come back with their proverbs. Dennis carries them on his back. And then we ask you to interpret them.
The country we're in today is considered the kingdom in the sky. We are in Lesotho. Why is it called the kingdom in the sky? Because it is the only country in the world that is above 1,000 meters above sea level. So many say, if I want to enjoy snow, I might go to Sweden. But if I just go to Lesotho as well, I will enjoy the same, right? And it's also the water tower of South Africa. Why? Because water is their greatest resource, and they actually sell water. They ship water to South Africa and produce that important resource that they do have. But the proverb we have today talks about food. Now, even a small meal reaches the mouth. Even a small meal reaches the mouth. Ladies, go first. How would you interpret it?
I actually think that I will let my regional colleague go first on this one. I am mainly focusing on what is happening in Kenya.
All right. How would you interpret it?
I think for my part it means, change, however small it is, it can be felt in a very big way. And so you don't really need a big meal so that the mouth can taste. So that small, whether it is catalytic change that's happening in our country or in the world, eventually everybody is able to feel it. It's like the mustard seed. You are not able to notice it at the beginning, but the result can be enormous, and everybody will be able to see a big tree.
That's enough for your interpretation.
Absolutely. A little.
Yeah.
Kind of starts it all. I wonder if we would then be able to apply the same thing when it came to investing in democracy and human rights. If you can just start off with a little, and hopefully fill the thing. Is that how we look at human rights as well? We'll start with you, Jackson.
Thank you so much, Nduh, for this. Why is it important to invest in democracy and human rights? We know, one, for economic prosperity to happen, we need to really invest in democracy and human rights, because then benefits that are coming from a fair democracy are failed across inclusive societies. And the proverb actually applies because it is the small baby steps that you make that brings significant change in our country. For example, when you are investing in technology, that becomes an enabler of the work that we do. Initially, everybody is not happy about it, or they don't know about it, but at the end, they are able to embrace and they see how it's contributing to the change, whether it is the democratic space, freedom of expression, and I'm using it as an example. So the small trickle changes that are happening or investments are able to be felt across the population.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. I mean, and even as we talk about that, then we talk about human rights development in the country with not only just a Kenyan problem or a Kenyan concern, but one that as well development partners have tapped into. And with this, then you enter the Swedish government. And the Wajibu Wetu initiative has been one that has been key in terms of pushing the agenda. And with that, then one asks the question, what has that meant in terms of Swedish development in Kenya, and especially when it comes to pushing human rights?
Thank you so much. And first of all, I want to say that this program, the Wajibu Wetu, I probably pronounce it wrongly. But anyway, I think it is a clear commitment, and it shows also Sweden's long partnership that we have with Kenya, and also more specifically with Forum Civ, on commitments on improving democratic governance, human rights, accountability, and citizens' participations. And it has been a long partnership. We have been working together for, I think, close to 10 years. So, of course, we have seen many concrete results over the years. And I can maybe just mention some of them right now, and if you want, we can come back to some of them. But I think that this program has really been very inclusive. We have seen that the program has targeted women, young people, and other vulnerable / marginalized groups. And it has not only targeted them, these more vulnerable groups, they have also been able to participate in decision-making processes, which really also affect their own lives. So that also means that it is a very good way of making sure that the right decisions are taken, and the people that are affecting, they can also contribute and participate in the decision-making process. And I think this is in itself is a great result that will also be sustainable after our funding has come to an end. And this approach, a locally led development or locally led initiative, that also aligns very much with Swedish priorities on how we should support civil societies. We want to support the ones by applying this approach. So that is just one example, but there are many examples.
What are human rights? I think we can also let's pivot a little bit to that. What are human rights from an operational point of view, and also from an understanding of those that we're asking to continue investing in them? What are those?
No, but I think that when we talk about this program, for example, it is very much about also citizens' participation, and citizens should know about their rights. They should also know about their responsibilities. And therefore, of course, they need sometimes information about the rights as well as the responsibilities. And I think that what we have also seen here is that this program has created spaces and networks for them to come together, be informed, but also making sure that they can be involved in different consultative processes or consultative dialogues with different organizations, which I think will be of benefit to everyone.
Who's informing them about these rights?
There are different implementing partners usually that are downstream partners to Forum Civ, and I think that maybe this is something that Jackson can elaborate more on, because that is what he is responsible for on a daily basis.
Yeah,
thank you.
Jackson, I think even as you respond to that then, under the program, there is Jumuika and Sikika, right? Jumuika, that would be participate. Sikika, let you be heard.
Yeah.
And with that, then one asks the question, with the program having been there, are we seeing more Kenyans participating in this progress, or is the government including Kenyans, or rather, are Kenyans being included in these spaces to participate also as enshrined in the Constitution, and are they being heard? would you say from where a Kenyan sits today, he's jumuikaing and he's being heard?
Yeah, I think maybe before I come to your question, it's good to compliment what Marie is saying. We have supported in Kenya about 110 organizations for the last 10 years. These are Kenyan civil society organizations, but we have also worked with independent media organizations as well. And therefore, the platforms that have been created for them to be heard, they are also the ones creating the platforms, because it's kind of a spectrum. You move from where people are not able to organize themselves to the point where they are organizing themselves, basically participating, jumuika, and then be heard. And in this sense, I want to speak from the contribution of the young people during the 2024 finance bill. Were they not being heard? They were heard, right? Because they came together, mobilized themselves, and their concerns were heard. That's just one example. But we've also have many cases where, for example, widows in Siaya County, one of the partners working with widows, the plight of widows that they experience in this country. So what have they done? They came together, they organized themselves, and they lobbied the county, and they passed the county widows bill. So this county widows bill, if it is cascaded to other counties experiencing similar problems, it therefore means their voices have been heard because they have come together. And that's just one of the examples I can be able to use. We also have environmental activists who are working in this country. We have seen what may be happening into other forests, right? And we know clean environment is a right. You were asking, what are these rights? There are political rights, there are social rights, there are economic rights. All these rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. But also the Constitution is very clear in Article 43 on economic and social rights. And these are the rights that Kenyans should be able to enjoy. So Kenyans have come together through this program. It has created platforms across the country, in Western Kenya, in Nairobi, in Central, in the Northern Kenya, and in the coast. And these platforms called Jumuika Sikika Mtaani, they are ongoing without even the support of Forum Civ. They convene and they discuss issues that affect them, invite the key stakeholders, including government. If it is insecurity, they are telling the government, this is where it is paining most, and this is the support that we want. But what I have to say, in democracy and human rights, you cannot say that you have achieved and you have kept quiet. It's an ongoing process. Things keep changing, and you have to keep pushing, and you have to keep talking to ensure that those who are in the responsibility of taking care of us, the duty bearers, also don't forget those responsibilities. So the program Jumuika Sikika, called Wajibu Wetu, it's our responsibility as citizens, but also responsibility as the duty bearers. When we all perform our responsibilities, then the country move forward to prosperity.
Can you invest in human rights without the stakeholders protecting those rights, Marie?
I think that from our perspective, we believe very much in supporting Kenya on human rights in general, on democracy, and as I said before, also on citizen participation and accountability. And I think that what we have also seen in this program is that they have been very successful when it comes to bringing different stakeholders together. We have talked, of course, about civil society organization, media, academia, and also local communities as well as citizens. And sometimes this program has also been able to address the interest of the public sectors, which I also think is very important because they can sometimes be part of the solution. So it's very important also to make sure that they are on board.
Who protects human rights? This is my question. Who are the people? Because I can know my rights, but there's a necessity for somebody to ensure that those rights, whether they're enshrined or come as a result of knowledge, are then protected. Can you have an investment in human rights without a protection of those rights?
Who is the principal duty bearer? It's government and its affiliated institutions. that are meant to protect the rights of all the citizens of the country. When you're talking about, the role of the judiciary to ensure that all that is spelled in our constitution is protected according to the law, right? And therefore, government needs to invest in ensuring that these rights are protected. But on the other hand, every actor, as Marie is saying, the stakeholders, you have the citizenry, communities, you have civil society organizations, you have the private sector, you have academia, you have media. Every actor plays a significant role in ensuring that all these very rights are protected by the government. So take, for example, social rights. The government should invest in social rights, education, healthcare. This is where they need to invest and ensure that the citizens are enjoying these rights as they should. But we know fiscal deficits and other pressures makes government not to. And that's why development partners like Sweden comes in and say, we look at the government of Kenya strategy, and we also look at our strategy for international development, and I think we see the alignment. And they know there's always fiscal deficits, and this is what we want to support this particular area. And so that support comes to civil society and also comes to government. And for this discussion, talking about the investment done by the Swedish government through Forum CIF on safeguarding democracy and human rights in Kenya. So we are playing a part of ensuring that keeping the government on check, and especially now putting this responsibility also square on the citizens, because programs come and go, but the citizens remain. Are they empowered to be able to claim these rights without getting support to actually call for meetings? And one of the examples I think I want to give, we have seen our communities are the ones knocking into government offices and calling them and say, we want this XYZ done, a hospital, a dispensary in our community. It's been running and it doesn't have doctors or nurses. Why can't this facility be opened? And they push government to open. And you know what? Is indeed the government responsibility to build and equip these facilities? Yes, it is. So when they are not proactive, the community is taking responsibility and ownership to push them to ensure that these services are happening.
Human rights, as we look at it, or lack of it, therefore, is a concern not only just for Kenya, not just for Sweden, but across the world, right? But one then would look at the implementation of several laws of enshrining the same to ensure that it is achieved. Where am I going with this? I'm going with this in terms of where you sit in terms of the project that has been there and seeing the gap that exists and investing in the same. How would you rate the performance or the outlook or the outcome from the project over the years, now that the program is coming to an end? How would you rate it? Have you achieved that which you set out to achieve?
From my perspective, I think that we have seen impressive results during the 10 years that we have supported this program. We have seen a strengthened civil society, we have seen the more informed citizens, we have seen improved collaboration, as we talked about before, we have seen a greater inclusion of vulnerable groups that were not there before, and we have also seen locally rooted solutions that did not exist before this project actually started. So, I mean, when we assess whether or not we have been successful, we look at the targets that were set out in this program, and then I think that this is a great success. We have achieved so many concrete results over the years, and for me, coming from Sweden and being a development partner, it is also important to see whether or not the project will be sustainable once our funding comes to an end. And that is also something that Jackson talked about. And I think that what we see here is that with more informed citizens, with more opportunity for citizens to talk to the duty bearers, to know who they should have dialogues with, and also, you know, that having discussions at the local level where everyone can take part. I think all of that is also a new setup, a new system, which will be of benefit to everyone. So I think that in itself is a great success.
Jackson, one would then ask the question, as you buttressed what Maria said, that with the development partners coming in and focus target on what it is they wanted to achieve. Civil society has been empowered, Wananchi have been empowered, but the duty bearers as well, are they empowered to take that in and work on the gaps that have existed before? Because we will sit and say, fine, we have achieved that, but if there is no proper implementation mechanisms for us to say that we are winning as a whole, there is a gap that needs to be addressed. So how would you look at the sustainability aspect of it to ensure that it goes beyond the development partners' presence?
I think one of the fundamental ingredients of sustainability is to look at aspects of system change. If you want long-term and sustainable change, look at the systems. And whenever there are bottlenecks in the system, whether you have 100 years of investments, results will always remain the same. There is no change. And I think fundamentally there has been receptiveness from government, duty bearers in respective portfolios where the program is working with. And I want to speak this, for example, the question of gender. When it was End Femicide campaign, there was response from government. It has not ended because you could see each day, young women, young girls are also dying from what they call intimate partner relationships, which has become now much more. The closest person killing you is the one who is with you. What did the government do? The government responded to ensure that systems are in place to protect, putting in channels where you can reach out, free calls to ensure that issues of response are handled, and we see what the government is doing. If you talk about the question of the care economy, for example, now we have a national care economy policy, right? So when you embed changes in the systems with relevant policies and ensure that those policies are implemented, then you can actually say the investment done by the Swedish government and other development funders have also created impact. But that also largely depends on also the political goodwill of the country. You can have very good policies, systems change. You have a regime now that implements these changes. You don't know what the next will do, and that's why the role of civil society will continuously keep checking. This is what's in place. Can you implement, and we see the changes for our citizens in this country? But as I put that, I also wanted to add to what Marie said. How do they see change from their lens and from our lens as well? So one of the greatest change I've seen is the growth of organizations that were community-based organizations that without systems and structures. Their officials is the chairperson, treasurer, and secretary. They have grown into an organization that is led by an executive director or a CEO, whichever title, but they have also gone beyond Kenya borders. So that tells you that catalytic support that the program trusted with this person without systems has created a significant change. But also the funding has been so catalytic because this program for 10 years has given path to about 4 new programs. So that tells you when you trust the system, you trust processes, and you invest, you can actually see that long-term change. And that also contributes to sustainability of initiatives within the region.
So, Marie, Kenya comes into a year of a general election in 2027, and unfortunately, previous elections have led to, whether your right to protest, your right to petition, all of these things come into play. What would you think would need to be an approach towards an election coming up, and to ensure that the rights of individuals and communities as Kenyans are protected?
Well, thank you for that question, and I think it is a difficult question maybe to answer. But I think that from our perspective, of course, we are hoping that it will be a fair election coming up. And of course, it's also important to make sure that people know about their rights before the election is actually taking place. And I think that I was not here when the last election took place. I've only been here for a little bit more than a year. But we are in close contact both also with other development partners, and we're also in close contact with representatives from government to see how we can be an important player to make sure that the next coming election be a fair one.
Okay. Let's take a break at this point. I want to come back with you when we come back from that, Jackson, if that's okay, and we can contribute to that as well. We'll take a quick break and come back and continue looking at investing in human rights and democracy and what exactly it means when you're coming into certain cycles where certain things, and then we can probably land it with things that are happening in country at the moment. All right, we're back with Marie and Jackson as we continue in a short while at 29 minutes to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
Traffic update brought to you by Chloride Oxide.
All right, so looking around the city, and there is some traffic coming off of Mombasa Road. It's heading out towards Capital Centre, out through to the city. Uhuru Highway also is busy inbound. Folks may be on the way to Westlands trying to avoid the traffic, but then causing more from what we see. It's very busy. Then coming on to Jogo Road, Landis Road is bumper to bumper. Off of Jogo Road, heading towards Wakulima, and then we'll also see traffic that's heading out towards Ring Road and Ngara. Very busy traffic here this morning. And then trying to join with what's coming off of the roundabout at the Globe Cinema. Okay, so Ring Road Western's busy as well. James Gishoro, still some traffic crossing over to Waiaki Way there. We're still in traffic hour for all intents and purposes. Let's see what happens as we try to cure that by keeping things moving. SpiceFM KE on X.
Traffic update was brought to you by Chloride Oxide. Wherever the road takes you these days, stay powered by Chloride Oxide. Get total peace of mind on the highway with the premium Exide battery range backed by a rock-solid 18-month manufacturer's warranty. Chloride Oxide. Inside from Chloride Oxide.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We continue our conversation this morning, and so with an election coming in, Jackson, and to say that, where you learn from an experience in the past whereby human rights may have been abrogated, or you didn't invest in them enough to ensure that with such a moving event in any nation, that you ensure that the people be protected first. What then do you do when there's an upcoming one?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I wanted to also add to what Marie said, because the election involves actors. Mm-hmm. You have the government that is involved through IEBC, which is the electoral agency. You have other multi-agents within government involved for the election to be successful. You have the private sector, you have civil society, you have development partners, you also have the media, but you also have the communities, the citizens who are going to undertake the voting. So, election cannot be reduced into a one-day event. So there are a process that must happen pre, during, and after. So, and each of these actors has a clear role. And what we have learned from the past, that investment must happen long before the election day. Mm-hmm. Whether it is technology tested, it is working, and most of the time, the government rushes. They have ample time, 5 years, but we still see struggle towards the end of ensuring that we have a credible and fair, viable results of elections. So each of them, and I think civil society has a role to ensure that civic responsibility, creating awareness within the voters community to know how are they going to vote. In fact, you are saying political education, because choices have consequences. Mm-hmm. So how do they make their right choices at the ballot? So they need this information beyond knowing this is the booth, this is how you go to mark the paper, those for the first time. And that should be, done by IBC on how to do that. Mm-hmm. But in terms of information on how do you make choices, listen to the manifestos of different candidates, civil society has a role to play on that. Mm-hmm. The media has a big role of ensuring that the mis- and the disinformation campaigns that are actually going to happen, how do you fact check? And the media plays a role here to fact check this information and say these were false claims, this is the true picture that you are able to find. And as we do all that, private sector, which is a beneficiary of a peaceful country and ecosystem of doing business, they also need to ensure that technologies that are probably being used for elections must be, trusted technologies so that they are also able to enable this election to happen. If all this happens, I'm sure we will have results that everybody is able to appreciate. And of course, people will always question things, right? Human beings are always not on the same side. But the process must be clean enough, verifiable, so that people can trust on that process. And I think that's what the past has taught us.
Yeah, Marie, as we talk about coming to an end of the project right now, one would say the relationship and friendship with Kenya still remains, right? And with the successes that have been seen so far, one would hope that there is a future to come, that we expect perhaps more investments into the space, that then you would sit down and look at, this is what we achieved, perhaps we need to invest in this area moving forward. So for those in these spaces that you have empowered, talk about civil society, the youth, women, and even government, one asks the question, in the next phase, what should be the position? Where should these spaces, these stakeholders be at, or what must they do for us to say there is reason for development partners to come back to continue with the journey?
Thank you. And this is actually one of my favorite questions, I think, today, because I'm very happy that the Swedish government has approved a new strategy for the next coming 5.5 years. So it means that Sweden will continue working closely with Kenya. And as you said very rightly, we have a long partnership going back more than 50 years ago. And with this new strategy that was approved only 10 days ago, the Swedish government has spelled out 4 objectives that we should achieve during the next coming 5.5 years. One is about green transition. The other one is improved livelihood through digitalization and trade. And then it's third one is about human rights, democracy, to strengthen that, including rule of law. And the fifth one is about migration. So what we are going to do right now is to operationalize this strategy, and there are also some changes compared to the previous strategy. We only have 4 objectives compared to 8, and that is also done on purpose by the Swedish government, because they want to make sure that we are really focusing our work here in Kenya, and of course in all other countries where we're also working. But there is a little bit of a change nowadays, and there is an expectation that we should really use the development cooperation funds extremely catalytic. We should mobilize also private capital. We should work more closely in different partnerships, and we should also use other instruments than grants. I'm thinking about guarantees, I'm thinking about challenge funds and PPDPs, for example. So there are some changes in this new strategy compared to the one that is now came to an end yesterday. So we have a new strategy as of today. So what we are going to do now is also to reach out to representatives from the government, from civil society, from the private sector, and to development partners, and see how they think that we should operationalize this strategy to make sure that it will really be of benefit also to Kenya for the next coming 5.5 years.
So you talked about, Marie, making sure that these systems remain in place even after funding would cease. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think it's a little bit early to say whether or not it's going to be sustainable, but I think that we have seen lots of concrete examples, and Jackson has also mentioned some of them, because nowadays we have seen different organizations, stakeholders reaching out to one another because they have seen that it will actually be of benefit to them to work together. And that does not necessarily require funding. So they have if I may say so, really understood that they will benefit from working together. And I'm pretty sure that that is something that will continue also after the funding has come to an end.
Yeah. Jackson, I mean, with the new strategy that is coming in, let's talk about the already existing successes, right? Especially now that you're headed into the elections. And with that, then you would find that the political class will do their thing. Wananchi as well, Kenyans will be out there and they will have their own agenda that they would set on things that they want to achieve, that they would want their spaces, they want to be listened to more, And with that, then with the strategies that have been put in place together with the civil society, is there conversations around the duty bearers, not government, the election players, in terms of enshrining these human rights into our electoral processes? How do we sustain that beyond the already collapsed or elapsed strategy?
Yeah, thank you so much. And the strategy is just a document that came to an end that was guiding. And some of the things are still existing in the current strategy. So it's not like you closed and you open new. So maybe one or two new elements that are coming on board to be strengthened based on the lessons learned from the previous strategy. So I think the conversation will continue. And matters of democracy and human rights, as we said, you can't put a stop to an end. Now it stopped. It has to be a continuous process, engaging the relevant stakeholders, including the duty bearers, who are central of guaranteeing, since they are the principal duty bearers of our rights in this country. So that will be able to continue. And as she said, they are going to convene a stakeholder engagements. How do you want us to operationalize this strategy? What have we learned from the past? What are we changing in this regard? But remember, government still remains. Government is the actors changing within government, but the structure of government remains, and they are available for engagement at all levels. I know this week, I think tomorrow, we have a meeting with the NCIC boss, CEO. We want to discuss about the elections coming. How can we partner together? How do we ensure that there is peaceful coexistence before, during, and after elections of 2027? And you see now government is also reaching out to previous, key stakeholders in the country to work together as a team to see that we have one Kenya, and we don't want our Kenya to burn because we don't want to be refugees in another person's land. And therefore that calls for concerted efforts from government, private sector actors, development partners, and the communities coming together for one clarion call. We want a peaceful elections, and we want everybody to participate and they do their duty of undertaking the voting process. So I think that way, with the consistent messages that even the decision you make today, it may not prevail. Marie's decision may have prevailed. So will you ban Marie because her decision prevailed? No, it was a democratic process. And in democracy, there are wins and there are those who also lose. I think accepting that. But also passing the messages that sometimes you lose and sometimes you gain. But the country still remains bigger than any one of us.
What would be some indicators for you that government as an actor or as a player had actually latched onto these ideas, that you say, okay, yes, actually, we've seen that a program instituted and then messaging passed through has actually landed, or that the seed has actually taken? How would you know?
When I see government coming out, because sometimes, government, the perception that they are sitting, waiting to be approached, right? When government goes out to look for partnership, I think it means that this message has also sunk. They need also to look for more partnerships as opposed partners going for them. And I see then they are initiating, sharing ideas on how we can work together. They may not be having all the funding available because of government fiscal deficits. So they are reaching out. They say, we understand the need. We know you have been working, but we see an area that we can be able to plug. And I want to give an example. We've been supporting art for social change, activism, using art and also media to reach out because of simplifying complex governance issues in a song. And you will be seeing this coming up ahead of the elections. You will see musicians, right? You will see artists performing. Why? They are simplifying complex issues in just a song or a spoken word that people are listening. It's entertaining, but also they resonate with. Why this is important? Because then the intersection of art and the politics really meets together and they see the only way for us to make these complex messages reach is through this. And the government will be using most of those artists. And I want to say some of the young people have gone through our academy, Activism Academy. One of them is the official artist of the Chief Justice of this country. And this young man called Will Oeba, he does civic education in public transport system, in matatus. Nobody's paying him. And the government will be using such kind of young people to continue passing the messages. So they'll say, who can support this young person to be able to go to Wajir, for example, to go and support this message, to Mombasa. Then say, can Forum C, for example, support? You have resources. So you see government is reaching out. They understand we also have a role to play, and we can be sitting on resources that we can deploy to the government or for the benefit of the country. And that kind of mutual relationship and respect, I could say, I can sense this message has sunk. It has reached the government and they are ready to act.
Yeah. Marie, I want to look at development partners, and in where we live today, we've seen that funding has continued to reduce due to various challenges that other countries as well are grappling with. Funding has continued to dwindle and many are looking inwards, right? So if many are looking at security issues that they're dealing with at home, they have to provide for their people. But here we are looking at part two then of the funding that is coming in, and one would just ask the question, what has forced the Swedish government to look at Kenya as an opportunity that can be invested in, especially to achieve human rights and to expand the civic space that does exist?
Well, first of all, I want to say that when it comes to Swedish Development Corporation in general, we are still above the 0.7 commitment, which is, so I think that in itself is very good. But as you said, more and more funds are now being also channeled to Ukraine. So that is the top priority for the Swedish government. And during the last couple of years, the government has phased out some countries here in Africa, but Kenya is not one of them. And the reason is, of course, that Kenya is a very important country to the Swedish government, and for many different reasons. And as you said, even though Development Cooperation Fund is being decreased, not only in Kenya, but I mean in other countries as well, there are many opportunities for private companies to come in here, to invest here in Kenya. And the Kenya already has a very vivid private sector compared to many other countries. So I mean, and we are also, already now working with some banks. We provide guarantees, for example, to a green transition guarantee, where we work together with INM. We have another refugee guarantee where we work with KCB. So all of these other instruments that are now being used more and more is and that to go back to by Kenya, because we see that there are many opportunities in Kenya to use other modalities and not only grants. So from the Swedish government's perspective, Kenya is an extremely important country also from a trade perspective.
Jackson, with that existing info that funding from development partners is reducing, then the civil society is forced to think outside the box, because the conversations must continue. The end goal is to ensure that human rights are upheld, that civic space continues to grow, that women and youth empowerment is a reality, right? And with that, then you have to spread your wings. Private stakeholders as well have to be included in this conversation. So how are you just going about this so that we say, beyond what we're getting from development partners outside, right, we are also having these conversations internally to ensure that we achieve the overall goal?
Yeah, so thank you so much. One of the changes that is coming because of the reduced development support is that organizations, and especially Forum C, we've had to be very adaptive. You can't use the systems that were used in 2000, beginning of 2000, to run the organization in 2026. The ground has shifted, and therefore how organization aligns must also shift to the realities of the context of funding landscape. And so one of the models we are also pursuing, private sector engagements is one of the key. How can private sector contribute to the work of governance? It's not very easy because these are soft things. You want economic empowerment where you see your income moved from 2,000 to 4,000, you can count. But governance is voice. For you to say that people have gotten voice, it's very hard to be measuring, and it takes much more time. And therefore, we are trying to convince private sector that this is also important, because if the country is more democratic, then it means things are working and their business will be able to thrive. Going out to other funding models that are being explored now, catalytic funding, she mentioned about it. How do we tell others that this is working and you can invest in us? Consortiums, we can never go alone now. You must work with others because you are competing for little resources. How do you put your efforts together to ensure that you don't only compete, but you collaborate for a wider change? Thank you.
Mary?
No, I just wanted to build on what Jackson said, because I think that all of us have to think outside the box nowadays. We all have to be innovative. We all know that we have less money, but we're expected to do more, maybe. So I think that what you talked about, Jackson, about flexibility, I just want to emphasize when it comes to flexibility and adaptability, I think that is also super important for us as a development partner, because there are so many things happening so quickly, and we really need to make sure that we can adjust at the right time and with the right solution. So I think that is also something that we need to put a lot of focus on.
How do you deal with competing issues at the same time in the developing world and with the developed world? How do you deal with competing issues whereby now the program should be established and or practiced, and then there's this other agenda that needs to be dealt with the collaborative partner at the same time? I guess for both of you, how do you now make sure that while you're still dealing with these priorities, that you also then deal with the other things that come on the table every single day?
So there is that question of flexibility answers the feedback on responsibility answer that question in this symbol, because you are priorities and you are allocating resources, right? But you are also cognizant of the dynamic nature of the environment. So you provide some support that can respond to solidarity issues, for example. It's not going to, today, if you hear drought is coming. Now, heavy rainfall pouring out in parts of the country and people are dying, but you had already earmarked resources for something else. You are not going to see people dying because you had resources already allocated on this. You are going to sit and reprioritize. And I think that is what's been happening, that as you implement long-term strategies, you also are alive to short-term changes or shocks that you need to contribute to. And the Swedish embassy in Nairobi has allowed us sometimes to have this, what we call solidarity support, to respond to very emerging issues that are very urgent and cannot be ignored, to go through a 5-month assessment process. They require you to respond immediately because these are appropriate human rights violations happening. Yeah, Marie?
No, but I think that my answer would very much be in line with yours. And even though, of course, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult, I would say at the same time it's part of our DNA, because we always need to reprioritize. That is part of why we are working, I think, with development cooperation. There are other more urgent issues happening, and then, of course, we need to focus on that. But I think that for us as a development partner, it's also important to set up our program in a way that it can be as flexible as possible. And that is, I think, is also a lesson learned from this program. And as you said, we have been able to adjust when needed, but I think that is still something that we will take with us. And when it comes to this new strategy that I talked about a little while ago, I mean, we are now going to really try to see what kind of organizations should we work with, and how should we set up the support for the next coming 5 years. And I don't have the answers to that right now, but as I said before, we will have different stakeholder meetings after the summer, and to make sure that we can really operationalize this strategy.
Yeah. Jackson, the government then, one would say, is the chief custodian of human rights, and even expansion or diminishing of the civil space. And these are conversations then that, aside from going to civil society and speaking to an NGO, there is the cardinal responsibility that the duty bearers must as well adhere to, right? And with all this, then, the engagement, are you seeing that this will again focus more on implementation, because that's where the problem has been, especially when it comes to upholding human rights? How do you go about that, and how do we even then bolster that conversation with government and duty bearers?
Yeah, and as I said, this is a continuous process, and you understand government, in government offices, it keeps changing of the office holders, and the reason why it has to be continuous, today you went to an office, the person seated there was a different cabinet secretary, right? In a few months down the line is another person. So you really have to start again having the engagements and conversations, because also people come with priorities that they want to have, and you want to also, a civil society organization and that actors, ensure that the issues that you have discussed before agreed will actually continue to be implemented. So I think transition is a major factor that makes this work to appear to be more repetitive, because the office holders keeps changing. And I think for me it is a continuous process. You can imagine for 7 governments, there is a change 2027, right? And you had conversations this year, and you had commitments. Are you guaranteed that the commitments are going to progress? No. You also must to reinitiate again with the leadership of the particular 47 governments, including now 48 national government, to ensure that these priorities that are already enshrined in the Constitution, but there are things that we have already discussed for operationalization purposes. Are they resonating with your priorities as a leader of a particular government function? And so that will be a continuous process to ensure that the real felt needs of the citizens are addressed, but also the emerging issues are also addressed as they come.
I mean, we've talked about adaptability. Is this then, because you don't want to keep on repeating the same thing, that we adapt perhaps a different strategy where what you're pushing for becomes a policy, because a policy sticks? Marie?
Well, I think that, as I said before, exactly how it's going to be implemented is too early to say, so I think I will come back to that after the summer.
But is that then maybe an adaptability question in terms of pushing for policy change? Because a policy sticks even with the relevant ministries or the different county governments, right?
How do you action it?
That's the thing.
You can have a policy on paper, very good, just stuck there, and you expect action, right? But also it requires resources to action it. Maybe it's not someone's priority, as I said, because if I come to an office, I also have other priorities. Whatever policy is agreed on, there may be another policy coming. So I think we need to keep in check the dynamism in nature that there could be many policies coming to operationalize existing laws. And therefore, if we felt like our policy that we pushed for is very important, we need to be reminding. And I think human beings always get reminded things, even when it is their duty. The reason why we remind the government that it is their duty to provide health care, why should we media remind? Yet the government of the day knows that they need to provide these healthcare services.
Indeed. That's a good question. We've been talking about investing in democracy and human rights this morning. Jackson Obare, who is the Forum Civ Regional Manager, and Marie Otterson, who's the Head of Development Cooperation, the Embassy of Sweden in Nairobi, have been our guests this hour. Thank you for being here in the Situation Room to look at a lot of these matters. Asante Sana.
Thank you so much, and Asante Sana, for having us.
Thank you for being in the Situation Room on this first day of July. We'll look into what the rest of the year has to offer. We'll talk again tomorrow, God willing. Yolanda Mulwa is up with Sugar and Spice at 11 after an hour of cool, relaxing SpiceFM music, Sugar and Spice and everything nice. Good morning, folks. It's 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembor. Parents and education stakeholders have opposed a proposal by secondary school principals to raise school fees, saying the government should fully fund public education through timely capitation instead of increasing the burden on households. The proposal discussed at the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association Conference in Mombasa seeks the first fee review